तो आई टोल्ड दैट दिस इज द सिंबल ऑफ यूनिटी एंड दिस इज द सिंबल ऑफ रेस्पेक्ट ऑफ नॉलेज। सो ही वॉज वेरी हैप्पी। उसने सुना तो उसको खुशी हुई कि यह ज्ञान को सम्मान देने के लिए तिलक करते हैं और एक दूसरे के साथ एकात्म होने के लिए संगच्छध्वम संवदध्वम, हमको एक मानते हैं, इसलिए हमारे हाथ में ये सूत्र बांधते हैं। तो एक छोटी छोटी बातों के आदान प्रदान से भी हमारा प्रेम बढ़ता है। आज हमारे बहुत ही यहाँ पर विद्वान सब डॉक्टर्स हैं, प्रोफेसर्स हैं, रिसर्चर्स हैं, वैज्ञानिक हैं, उन सबका हम हृदय से सम्मान करते हैं। जिस प्रकार से डॉक्टर अनुराग वार्ष्णेय जी ने, डॉक्टर वेदप्रिया जी ने, अनुराग श्रीवास्तव जी ने ये पूरा संयोजन किया है, पूरा जमघट यहाँ पर इकट्ठा हुआ है। इसके लिए हम प्रोफेसर जैकोबस जी, प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर सुनील जी, प्रोफेसर सीतेश जी, डॉक्टर राजेश जी जो अपने ही पतंजलि परिवार के हैं, और जो डॉक्टर युवान श्योंगचांग, ये सबसे ज़्यादा एकदम मस्त आदमी है। और मुझे लगता है जब तक ये स्टेज पर रहेंगे किसी को स्ट्रेस नहीं होने देंगे। यू आर द हैप्पी मैन, डिवाइन सोल, यू आर ऑलवेज डूइंग लाफ्टर योगा। सो प्रोफेसर पार्थ राय जी और डोमिनिको डेल्फिनो, एक बार सभी का हम बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करते हैं। सारे बड़े बड़े डॉक्टर्स यहाँ पर हैं। हमारे WHO से भी हमारी बेटी आई हुई हैं, डॉक्टर शोभा तोमर जी भी आई हुई हैं। एक बार सबका बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन। तो आज मैं बस सूत्र रूप में अपनी बात कहना चाहता हूं। आयुर्वेद में सार को, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट को बहुत महत्व दिया जाता है, और हम जो अभी औषधीय अनुसंधान कर रहे हैं वो फाइटोकेमिकल्स पर कर रहे हैं। अर्थात औषधि के वो सूक्ष्म घटक इस जगत में जो जितना सूक्ष्मता में जाएगा उतना जगत के परम सत्य से परिचित हो पाएगा। जो कुछ हम इस जगत में देख रहे हैं, इस दृश्य के पीछे जितना सूक्ष्म जाएंगे उतना हमें फाइटोकेमिकल्स मिलेंगे, केमिकल्स मिलेंगे, बहुत सूक्ष्म सोल्ट्स मिलेंगे, और इनकी भी और ज्यादा सूक्ष्मता में जाएंगे तब हमें शरीर इंद्रियों के परे मनस तत्व मिलेगा, आत्म तत्व मिलेगा, जो सार है इस जीवन का सूक्ष्मतम तत्व है वो आत्मा है। और इस सूक्ष्म आत्मा है। पिंड और ब्रह्मांड में ब्रह्म परमात्मा सूक्ष्म तत्व है और उसमें अपरिमित ऊर्जा है। ऐसे ही हमने औषधियों और वनस्पतियों के सूक्ष्म घटकों पर शोध किया और उसके द्वारा जो पूरी दुनिया में नहीं हो पाया, जो WHO नहीं कर पाया, वो काम पतंजलि ने करके दिखाया है। ये किसी को के लिए या किसी के कंपटीशन के लिए नहीं बोल रहे हैं। हम तो किसी के साथ कंपटीशन करने में विश्वास ही नहीं रखते। हम तो सेल्फ कंपटीशन स्पीड थोड़ी चल जाए। और क्या किया, इसको मैं एग्जाम्पल से कहना चाहता हूं। कहते हैं 1000 बातें पढ़ी हुई, एक बात आंखों से देखी हुई प्रत्यक्ष सत्य है। हमने क्या किया, मैं 5-7 एग्जाम्पल्स दे रहा हूं। हम योग, आयुर्वेद, नेचुरोपैथी और जो हमारा इंडियन ट्रेडिशनल सिस्टम है, सनातन जीवन पद्धति है, उसको अडॉप्ट करके कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स देना चाहता हूं। मेरे पास हमेशा करीब 5000 लाइव एग्जाम्पल होते हैं। इतने लाइव एग्जाम्पल दुनिया में किसी इंस्टीट्यूशन के पास नहीं रहते। हम 5000 लाइव एग्जाम्पल्स को डेली यहां पर उनकी अनुभूतियों के साथ, उनके प्रात्यक्षिक एक्सपीरियंसेस, एविडेंसेस के साथ इस अनुसंधान की यात्रा को आगे बढ़ाते हैं। जैसे यहां पर अभिषेक, अविनाश और राधे श्याम, ये तीनों एक बार खड़े हो जाएंगे। ये बहुत बड़ी घटना है। इन्होंने 2-3 महीने में ब्लड कैंसर को पूरी तरह से क्योर किया है और सारे साइंटिफिक एविडेंसेस के साथ। These are the 3 live examples. They cured their cancer through yoga and through Ayurvedic medication. Here, one is cystogrid, another is orogrid, and daily we are providing amla, aloe vera, गिलोय, तुलसी, नीम, हल्दी और गोधन अर्क का तो नाम सुनकर के हमारा ये जो है ताइवान वाला उछल पड़ेगा। तो we are providing cow urine and we are curing the cancer through cow urine. तो कुछ सोचेंगे ये इंडियन लोग करते क्या है? हम लोग वही करते हैं जो दुनिया में किसी ने नहीं किया। और साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट के साथ चलते हैं, कोई ढोंग पाखंड अंधविश्वास आडंबर नहीं। तो ये 3 लाइव एग्जांपल्स हैं। किसी साइंटिस्ट को इनका पूरा डेटा चाहिए तो वी विल प्रोवाइड द होल डेटा ऑफ 3 पेशेंट्स। दे क्योर्ड देयर कैंसर। फर्स्ट इज कम इधर आओ। अब दोनों अनुवाद भी करना पड़ गया। कम हियर। ये एक बालक है जो मजदूरी करता था। कल मैंने पूछा था इससे, ये मजदूरी करता था, अब कैंसर अच्छा कर लिया तो इसने बोला मजदूरी क्या करना, अब फल की दुकान चलाता है। फर्स्ट ही वाज ए वर्कर, नॉर्मल वर्कर, नाउ ही इज सेलिंग फ्रूट्स एंड इसका लाइफ भी अच्छा हो गया। अब इसका वाइफ भी अच्छा हो गया है, इसके बच्चे भी अच्छे हो गए हैं। क्यों? इसको बहुत खतरनाक कैंसर था और रिकरेंस हुआ था। पहले कहां ट्रीटमेंट लिया था तुमने?
मुंबई में लिया था, टाटा में।
टाटा में पहले ट्रीटमेंट लिया, फिर टाटा के बाद दोबारा घाटा हो गया, दोबारा कैंसर हो गया, रिकरेंस, पेशेंट ऑफ ब्लड कैंसर। आफ्टर दैट व्हाट यू डिड, क्या किया आपने?
अनुलोम विलोम प्राणायाम किया। और जो काढ़े बताए थे वो काढ़े सब लिए। और दवाई में सिस्टोगिड, डायमंड, कर्क्यूमिन गोल्ड और गिलोय, मतलब
और आसन क्या क्या करता है?
आसन तो सब करता हूँ स्वामी जी।
अब ये पहले चल नहीं पाता था, अब ये शीर्षासन भी करता है। यहीं करके दिखा। जो कैंसर पेशेंट था उसने कैंसर का ही शीर्षासन करा दिया। इसको कैंसर था, लोग कहेंगे शायद पकड़ के ले आए, हम के नहीं आते। वो जैसे करते हैं ना, क्या करते हो, चंगाई शिविर नहीं लगाते हम कोई चमत्कार, नो मिरेकल, दिस इज ऑल प्रोसेस, साइंस बेस्ड प्रोसेस, योग बेस्ड ट्रीटमेंट। चलो ये तो अविनाश हो गया, चल इधर आ जा। ये दूसरा लड़का अभिषेक, ये भी क्या करता है बेटा?
एडवोकेट हूँ।
एडवोकेट है?
जी हाँ।
तो अब योग की एडवोकेसी कर रहा है?
जी, अब योग सिखाता हूँ स्वामी जी।
अब योग भी सिखाता?
जी हाँ। हमारी
को कब हुआ था ब्लड कैंसर?
ये 2015 में हुआ था स्वामी जी।
इसको 2050 में हुआ था। और अविनाश तुमको कब हुआ था?
20 में हुआ।
2020 में हुआ था इसको। ये इसने भी अपना क्योर कर लिया। रिपोर्ट नॉर्मल है सब?
आज की डेट में सब नॉर्मल है,
सारी रिपोर्ट नॉर्मल है।
जी स्वामी जी। और
ये तो कमाल कर दिया है। कितनी उम्र है बाबा?
90 years old।
90 years। और पहले सर्विस कहाँ करते थे?
हैदराबाद में जूनियर इंजीनियर था, बाद जनरेटिंग पथरी पावर हाउस।
वो कैंसर
30 साल पहले।
इधर बोलो इधर। और वो ब्लड कैंसर हुआ तो क्या होता था? नाक से
खून आता था, क्लास चलाता था, जब सारे कपड़े भीगने लगे, बच्चे नाराज, तो फिर जो डॉक्टर ने डिक्लेयर किया, मैंने योग बढ़ा दिया।
डिक्लेयर क्या किया?
कैंसर डिक्लेयर किया।
कौन से हॉस्पिटल?
मैक्स हॉस्पिटल गाजियाबाद।
मैक्स हॉस्पिटल गाजियाबाद में डॉक्टर ने बोला इसको कैंसर हो गया। फिर
तीनों बेटों के साथ डॉक्टर अंदर बैठे हुए थे। सर्जन ने कहा कि बाबा आप नहीं आओगे अंदर। अरे हमने कहा ऐसा है, जो भी कुछ है हम पहले ही समझ गया, मैं बताओ तो सही भाई।
बोले तुम अंदर नहीं आओगे, तुम्हें बताएंगे तो ऐसे सुन के मर जाओगे।
सर्जन ने इससे कह दिया नहीं आने दूंगा तुम्हें। मैंने कहा ये तीनों मेरे मुझे क्यों नहीं आने दोगे? अरे बाबा कोई कॉन्फिडेंशियल बात है।
कॉन्फिडेंशियल बात है,
आपको नहीं बताएंगे। मैंने कहा कैंसर है तो हो गया है तो योग बढ़ा दूंगा।
फिर आपने कोई दवाई ली नहीं?
दवाई मैंने ली है स्वामी जी, अगर आप नहीं होते तो मैं साहब मर जाता 30 साल पहले ही।
ये लेकिन पक्का चेला है। फिर कितनी देर करता भी?
3 घंटे लगातार।
3 घंटे लगातार प्राणायाम किया। और कैंसर अभी भी करता है? पास नहीं गया।
उन्होंने हर 15वें दिन बुलाया है। नहीं कराऊंगा, योग बड़े बढ़ा,
इलाज तुम्हारा नहीं कर लो। कह इससे आगे धरती पर
करता हूँ। योग में पागल हो गया।
योग में पागल हो गया है।
योग में आप आस्था चलन पे कहते हो
पागल हो जाओ।
उस दिन से इतना वो आ गया कि आसमान में उड़ने की देर है।
करता है बाबा
सारे
करके दिखा। ये 90 साल वाला लो। ओह 90 साल का। हाँ अरे राम राम, हलासन भी कर दिया। ये क्लास ले बाबा रोज। अब बताओ बाबा गिरियो मत रे। ओ हो, ये तो पद्मासन लगाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं बाबा। लो अब इसका कैंसर क्या पूछ पाड़ेगा। चलो बाबा नीचे उतरा। आजा। अब इसका ट्रांसलेशन मत करना भाई, पूछ पाड़ने का अंग्रेजी में। बाबा ये तो कैंसर वाले थे। बैठो। बिना ही दवाई के ठीक किया इन्होंने, खाली प्राणायाम से। और ये दोनों प्राणायाम वाले और वो दवाई के साथ, तो दोनों हैं। फोन भी रखा है बाबा।
व्हाट्सएप कि आप में इतना टैलेंट है, व्हाट्सएप रखो। स्वामी जी का फोटो आपके में होता है। का नहीं, मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, ये मामूल सा फोन लेता हूँ।
ठीक है,
आपके कहने के अनुसार।
जाओ। अब बताओ, ये तो कैंसर के लाइव एग्जांपल्स हैं। ये अभी सीवियर अटेंड करने आए थे, मैंने बुलाए नहीं है। ये इनवाइटेड नहीं है, इनवाइटेड तो आप लोग हो। यू आर हमारे रेस्पेक्टेड इनवाइट गेस्ट, बट these are our followers. They are following yoga and ayurveda, and what they achieved, you are listening already everything. अभी एक भाई है यहाँ पर प्रवेश, उसका तो अपना मोबाइल में लेके आना। ये बीएसएफ का जवान है। इज द बीएसएफ। क्या करता है बीएसएफ में? क्या है बेटा अभी बीएसएफ में क्या हो? तुम हेड कांस्टेबल है बीएसएफ में। उनको दिखा के आना जरा, उनके पास जाओ, वो है ना जो तेरे हाथ की हालत थी वो पूरा, उनको दिखाओ। ये पहले तो इसी को दिखाओ, ताइवान वाले को, ये उछल उछल के कूदेगा। ये इसकी स्किन ऐसी खुरदरी थी जैसे 7 लेयर स्किन की, इतना उधड़ गया था।
स्किन सोराइसिस,
स्किन सोराइसिस था। उधर उनको भी दिखाना, दो उधर बैठे हुए। ए प्रवेश, उधर जा, उधर उधर दो उधर बैठे। ये इतना स्किन सोराइसिस पूरे वर्ल्ड में कहते हैं। ये डॉक्टर बड़ा मजेदार है।
2015 में ये
दो अंगूठे दिखा रहा है। अंगूठा विजय का प्रतीक है, या ठेंगा नहीं दिखा रहा।
ये हालत हो गया था राइट हैंड का, ये सिर की हालत थी सर। ये पैर के अंदर लीच जिसको जोक बोलते हैं, ये लगाई गई थी इसके द्वारा। ये खाल ऐसी फटने लगी थी जैसे ब्लेड से काट रहे हैं, ऐसे पूरे शरीर की खाल फटने लगी।
तो ये इतने खतरनाक सोराइसिस के पेशेंट, आर्थराइटिस, ऑस्टियो आर्थराइटिस, रोमेटॉइड आर्थराइटिस, इसके तो लाइव एग्जांपल हैं। अनिष्का है और इसकी मम्मी, ये दोनों ही बीमार हो गई। पहले बेटी बीमार हुई तो बेटी को बीमार देख के मार हो गई, इधर हो। और ये दोनों फाइटर थी, ब्लैक कमांडो प्रैक्टिस करती हैं, माने जोड़ो कराटो और क्या क्या करते हो, ब्लैक बेल्ट कराटे में, और आर्थराइटिस से हार गए थे। अब दोनों माँ बेटी अच्छे होकर के खड़े हैं। माँ है ये बेटी है। तुम सोच रहे कि इसकी बड़ी बहन है, मैं भी ऐसे ही सोचता था। और अब इसने ऑस्टियो आर्थराइटिस को हरा दिया, और इसने क्या किया, इधर
मेरे को स्वामी जी पीसीओडी हुई थी, आर्थराइटिस, और मेरे को फैटी लीवर हुआ था।
लो, फैटी लीवर को ठीक कर लिया। अब फैटी लीवर का क्या हाल है?
बिल्कुल ठीक है।
और वो पीसीओडी?
पीसीओडी तो बिल्कुल आपने जैसे कहा था, कपालभाति बहुत करो और अच्छा खाओ, मैदा चीनी ये सब छोड़ दो। वो सब किया, अपना आप ही चला गया।
लो, पीसीओडी ठीक कर लिया, फैटी लीवर ठीक कर लिया।
गोधन अर्क के साथ मैं लीवोग्रिट लेती थी खाली पेट सुबह, और खाना खाने के बाद लीवामृत एडवांस।
लो, और ये इसको ऑस्टियो क्या हालत होगी थी तेरी?
मैं बॉक्सिंग करती थी, तो मैं बॉक्सिंग की ट्रेनिंग नहीं कर पा रही थी, और मैं अगर रनिंग भी करती थी तो होती नहीं थी। तो फिर मैंने ऑर्थोग्रेड खाई, और मेरा विटामिन डी भी 10 पे चला गया था। तो फिर मैं धूप में बैठकर प्राणायाम करती थी।
हाँ। सन थेरेपी भी लिया, धूप में बैठ के प्राणायाम किया। विटामिन डी अब नॉर्मल है। दोनों माँ बेटी एक बार फाइट करके दिखाओ। चलो चलो, हाँ जोर से करो बिटिया अनुष्का, हाँ जोरदार ताली बजा दो एक बार। अब ये पैर नहीं उठा सकती थी ना, अब फाइटिंग कर रही है। जोरदार अभिनंदन है। ये है द मिरेकल, द रिजल्ट ऑफ योगा, रिजल्ट ऑफ आयुर्वेदा। हाँ, तो ये मैंने कुछ बच्चे ऐसे ही मैंने कहा आए हुए, चलो बैठो बच्चों। तो ये ऐसे हम फिलिपियन ट्यूब किसी की बंद है, ये है वो है। हाँ, तो ये तो इस लड़के ने तो, प्रवेश ने तो मतलब पूरा हाथ पैर पूरा शरीर सड़ गया था।
2015 में सफदरजंग हॉस्पिटल के डॉक्टर जो कि 2.5 लाख सैलरी लेता था 2015 में, उसने इतनी मोटी बुक निकाल के उसमें लगभग 1 घंटा उसने सर्च किया, बेटा आपने क्या खाया क्या नहीं खाया। लगभग मेरे से 90 क्वेश्चन पूछे। लास्ट में घी पर आके बात अटक गई। बोले आप तो इस वजह से, बोले हम तो हरियाणा के आदमी, घी तो खाना ही पड़ेगा, नहीं तो जिंदा नहीं रहे। फिर उसने ये कहा ये पूरे भारत क्या पूरे देश में भी इसका कोई भी इलाज नहीं है। तो मैं मायूस होके चला गया। फिर दिल्ली के अंदर नजफगढ़ के पास में एक चरक संस्थान हॉस्पिटल है आयुर्वेदिक का, उससे मैंने थोड़ा दिन लिया 2015 में। लास्ट 2022 में मेरे को जबरदस्त हो गया, ताकि मेरी पूरी बॉडी से पानी टपकने लग गया, जैसे किसी छत से रिस के बाहर निकलता है। मेरे पास लाइव एग्जाम है, फोटो है, में से ऐसे मुस्क आने लग गई जैसे कि राद टाइप में पड़ जाती बॉडी में, बदबू आने लगती, पस मैंने ये सोच लिया हम अभी गिरेंगे। रात को सोचा अब सुबह होनी नहीं है, लेकिन डॉक्टर सूर्य प्रकाश वैष्णव सर से बात किया तो उन्होंने कहा गोदन अरक और नीम मिट्टी लो 2 टाइम, तो मैंने उसको ट्रिपल कर दिया। मैं सुबह दोपहर शाम लिया, फिर सुबह उठते फिर रात को आंख खुल जाए तो फिर गोदन अरक।
और दिन भर क्या करता था?
दिन कोई पैसा नहीं लगता है किसी भी प्रकार का, एक नाक से लो दूसरी से छोड़ो, कोई पैसा नहीं लगता, कोई जोर नहीं आता, सबसे सस्ता व्यायाम यही है, गोदन हरक और अलोम विलोम। इससे सस्ता इस दुनिया में कोई भी चीज नहीं है। अलोम विलोम किया, इससे तो हजारों गुना फायदा हुआ। और गोदन हरक और नीम मिट्टी से मेरा मात्र
1 महीने में विदिन ए मंथ ही क्योर्ड हिज सोराइसिस। अर्क नीम एक्सट्रैक्ट एंड अनुलोम विलोम।
ये जो हाथ शेविंग नहीं होती थी, दाढ़ी नहीं बनती थी, ऐसे यहाँ से आगे नहीं आता था मेरा हाथ।
ये थोड़े से तो धब्बे अभी भी ये दाग बाकी रहे, निशानियां छोड़ गया वो सोराइसिस।
और किसी आपके एक सदस्य ने एक बात और कही, इनके अलावा जो अपना हवन करते हैं उनकी जो भस्म होती है इसमें काफी जड़ी बूटियां, मतलब गाय का घी होता है, लास्ट में मैंने वो लगाई, उसका तो मतलब बयान नहीं कर सकते। तुरंत
बहुत आशीर्वाद। ये तो अभी
क्योंकि
बहुत
कोटि
अब ये लास्ट एग्जांपल देता हूं। भावित जैन वैष्णवी, एक लड़का शिव 60, 28 अलग अलग प्रकार से ये इंसुलिन ले रहे थे। एक बार खड़े हो जाए, एक बार इनके लिए जोरदार ताली बजा दो। टाइप 1 डायबिटीज शिवम। और ये बच्चे योगग्राम से इधर आओ, इनका इंसुलिन छुड़वाया है। इंसुलिन डिपेंडेंट पेशेंट भी नॉन डायबिटिक हो सकते हैं, ये पतंजलि ने पहली बार करके दिखाया है। और कितना यूनिट? वैष्णवी का तो 60, मनीष का 28, भावित का 7। भावित किधर है? ये भावित है। कब हुआ था बेटा आपको शुगर?
दिसंबर में पता चला था।
दिसंबर में कैसे हुआ था?
मुझे गोवा गए थे हम, तो वहाँ पे फीवर हुआ था, तो हमने नीचे दवाई लिया था बोलो से।
फीवर हुआ, उसकी एलोपैथी दवाई खाई, इसलिए मैं एलोपैथी को रोगपैथी कह देता हूँ, कोई नाराज मत होना, क्योंकि उससे फीवर के लिए दवाई ली, डायबिटीज ऊपर से प्रसाद में मिल गई। और इस बच्चे की अब इंसुलिन कितनी लग रही है?
अभी मेरा बंद हो गया है कल से।
0 पर आ गया इंसुलिन अब इसका। और ये शिवम, इसका भी कितना इंसुलिन लगता था बेटा? 23 यूनिट। और अब
नहीं लगता,
अब 0 पर है। अब ये वैष्णवी, इसका था, इसको तो बहुत क्रिटिकल था, इसका था कितना?
60 यूनिट्स।
60 यूनिट था, अब कितने पर आ गई है?
अभी 8 पे।
8 पर आ गए, 60 to 8। और अभी मनीष किधर है? इसका कितने पर आ गया?
पहले 28 था, अब 10 है।
हाँ, 28 से 10 पर आ गया। और इसका मनोज?
पहले मेरा 60 यूनिट था।
60?
हाँ जी। उसके बावजूद भी मेरी जो अपना शुगर आती थी, हाई आती थी 600, 650 ऐसे रहती
60 यूनिट लेने के बाद भी 600? ये राम नाउ
अब 11 यूनिट है।
लो,
और मेरी शुगर 101, 70।
अब 11 यूनिट है और शुगर 100। तो किसी का पूरा कंप्लीट बंद हो गया है, किसी का बंद 1 और 2 मंथ लगते हैं। 1 और 2 मंथ में टाइप 1 डायबिटीज के पेशेंट नॉन डायबिटिक हो जाते हैं। दवाइयां क्या क्या ले रहे हो?
मधुग्रिट, मधुनाशिनी,
मधुग्रिट। और बस्ती देते हैं। बस्ती? हाँ, बस्ती किसकी लेते हो?
बस्ती मेरे को किडनी में क्रेटिनिन भी बढ़ा हुआ है।
क्रेटिनिन भी बढ़ा हुआ है। गोखरू और
मधुग्रिट बस्ती चल रही है।
चलो, जोरदार अभिनंदन है। ये तो मैंने कुछ लाइव एग्जांपल्स दिए। जाओ बेटा, खुश हो। तो हम लोग, हमारे पास लगभग 5000 पेशेंट ऐसे पतंजलि वेलनेस में हर समय लाइव एग्जाम्पल्स होते हैं कि जो एक पूरी भ्रांति, एक मिथ चल रहा था कि आप लाइफ लॉन्ग आपको दवा खानी पड़ेगी, बीपी की, शुगर की, अर्थराइटिस की, पेन किलर, बायोलॉजिकल्स और तमाम तरह के स्टीरॉइड्स आपको जिंदगी भर खाने पड़ेंगे डिफरेंट डिजीज में। सोराइसिस में स्टीरॉइड देते हैं, इसमें इंसुलिन देते हैं, अलग अलग डिजीज में, अर्थराइटिस में पेन किलर, बायोलॉजिकल एंड स्टीरॉइड्स दे आर प्रोवाइडिंग। लेकिन हमने ये इतिहास में पहली बार करके दिखाया है। हम रोग मुक्त बनाते हैं, दवा मुक्त बनाते हैं, और पीसीओडी और तमाम तरह के चीज़ों के अंदर हम 99% ऑपरेशन को भी अवॉइड कर देते हैं। ये शक्ति है योग और आयुर्वेद की, ये शक्ति है हमारे पूर्वजों के ज्ञान की। तो बस इतना ही कह करके कि इसका पूरा एक तो हम एडवर्स रिसर्च कर रहे हैं कि जो है रियल वर्ल्ड एविडेंस, उसको क्लिनिकल कंट्रोल ट्रायल करके एविडेंस बेस्ड मेडिसिन का दर्जा दिलाने का काम कर रहा है पतंजलि। आप सब लोग और इसमें जुड़ते चले जा रहे हैं, क्योंकि जिंदगी में हम कभी अकेले नहीं होते। जिस सच के साथ हम चल रहे होते हैं, उस सच के साथ दुनिया में बहुत आत्माएं होती हैं। आप भी उसी रास्ते हमारे सहधर्मी हैं, आपका अभिनंदन करते हैं। बहुत बहुत प्रणाम।
आपके अखंड प्रचंड पुरुषार्थ के लिए आपको सादर नमन वंदन प्रणाम परम पूज्य श्री स्वामी जी महाराज। अब मैं परम श्रद्धेय श्री आचार्य जी महाराज से सादर निवेदन करती हूँ कि वे अपनी दिव्य वाणी से हम सभी को
स्वस्तिमन्था मनुच सूर्य सविभवता जानता। इस परम श्रद्धेय पूज्य पतंजलि संकल्पना उस संस्थान को प्रदान करने वाले पूज्य, आज अंतर्राष्ट्रीय इस आयोजन में मंच पर विराजमान जो साउथ अफ्रीका से पधारे हैं, प्रोफेसर जैकोबर्ट्स, निकोलास एलोफ जी, और साथ में हमारे उत्तराखंड आयुर्वेद विश्वविद्यालय के कुलपति आदरणीय प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर सुनील कुमार जोशी जी, और आदरणीय प्रोफेसर जो बांग्लादेश से पधारे हैं, ढाका से, प्रोफेसर सीतेश सी बचार जी जो ऑनलाइन जुड़ेंगे हमसे, और इसके अलावा बाहर से जैसे अभी आप जिनको बड़ा आप आनंद ले रहे थे, ताइवान से प्रोफेसर युआन शियोनचांग जी। मुझे तो चाचा चौधरी लग रहे हैं। और साथ में जम्मू से पधारे हुए हैं CSIR के आदरणीय डॉक्टर संदीप बी भराते जी, और भारत के बहुत कैंसर के बहुत वरिष्ठ सर्जन आदरणीय प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर अनुराग श्रीवास्तव जी, और रुड़की IIT से प्रोफेसर आदरणीय डॉक्टर पार्थ राय जी, और आदरणीय प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर डोमिनिको डेल्फिनो जी, और आदरणीय बहन शोभा तोमर जी जो निम्स जयपुर से डायरेक्टर हैं, पधारी हैं। और यहाँ पर हमारे संस्थान से आदरणीय डॉक्टर अनुराग जी, डॉक्टर आदरणीय वेदप्रिया जी, डॉक्टर राजेश जी, और आदरणीय डॉक्टर धनराज जी जिस कार्यक्रम में सहभागी और संचालन करने वाले हैं, और इसी तरह से हमारे और कुछ हमारे और भी माननीय अतिथिगण हैं जो यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं मंच पर। लिस्ट में नाम नहीं दिया तुमने भैया, तो मैं सभी सम्मानित अतिथियों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूँ, स्वागत करता हूँ। लगभग 8 देशों से यहाँ पर हमारे सम्मानित वरिष्ठ वैज्ञानिक गण यहाँ पधारे हैं। लगभग 31 से ज़्यादा विशिष्ट वैज्ञानिक वक्तागण आपको बताने वाले हैं, सिखाने वाले हैं, उद्बोधन देने वाले हैं। जहाँ श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी उपस्थित रहते हैं वहाँ पर स्वामी जी अपने आप में ही भारतीय संस्कृति, परंपरा, योग, आयुर्वेद के मूर्त रूप हैं, उदाहरण हैं। और स्वामी जी अपने साथ में बहुत सारे उदाहरण लेकर के उपलब्ध ही रहते हैं। स्वामी जी के पास लेके चलते नहीं है, उपलब्ध रहते हैं वो। पतंजलि वह संस्थान है, आप सब जानते हैं कि आज पूरे विश्व में योग की चर्चा होती है, तो उस चर्चा को वैश्विक बनाने का काम कहीं से प्रारंभ हुआ, तो वह संस्थान का नाम है पतंजलि। आज योग को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर मान्यता मिली, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने सद प्रयास किया, उसके लिए धन्यवाद के पात्र हैं। परंतु विश्व जनमानस को योग के प्रति रुचि जगाने वाले और योग के वैज्ञानिक तथ्यों से प्रामाणिकता के साथ में स्वीकार्यता दिलाने वाले श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी हमारे मध्य में हैं। हम सब सौभाग्यशाली हैं। श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी ने प्रत्यक्ष रूप में 10 करोड़ से ज़्यादा लोगों को योग सिखाया है। परोक्ष रूप से उसका प्रभाव देखा जाए तो लगभग दुनिया की कम से कम, मैं ऐसा मानता हूँ कि यदि हम 80 करोड़ से 100 करोड़ की बात करें तो श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी सीधे तौर पर दुनिया के 10% से ज़्यादा आबादी पर स्वामी जी का प्रभाव और योग को स्वामी जी ने पहुँचाया है। पतंजलि संस्था की बात करें, आयुर्वेद की बात करें, तो आज लगभग आयुर्वेद में 1 करोड़ से ज़्यादा पेशेंट्स, 10 मिलियन से ज़्यादा पेशेंट्स का डेटा हमारे पास हमारी EMR सिस्टम में है, जिसमें हर तरह के रोगी हैं। यदि यहाँ आकर के चिकित्सा लाभ लेने वालों की बात करें तो आप जानते हैं लगभग 69 कंट्रीज़ के पेशेंट्स का डेटा हमारे पास अवेलेबल है। यानी हम कह सकते हैं कि पतंजलि में चिकित्सा कराने के लिए दुनिया के यदि लगभग 100 देशों की हम बात करते हैं तो यहाँ पर लगभग 70% दुनिया के देश पतंजलि में पहुँच चुके हैं। यदि आबादी की दृष्टि से बात करें तो छोटे छोटे कोई देश छूट गया होगा। विश्व का कोई ऐसा देश नहीं है जो छूटा हो पतंजलि में आने से या पतंजलि में चिकित्सा लाभ लेने से वंचित रह गया हो। यह पतंजलि का स्वरूप है। इसके अतिरिक्त अनुसंधान लेखन आज पतंजलि की एक जो क्षमता है वो 500 से ज़्यादा वैज्ञानिकों के द्वारा जो शक्ति दी जा रही है हमारे प्राचीन परंपरा को आधुनिक विज्ञान सम्मत स्थापित करने के लिए, एविडेंस मेडिसिन के रूप में स्थापित करने के लिए हम सब सौभाग्यशाली हैं कि उस टीम के हम पार्ट हैं। श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी के नेतृत्व में हमारी जो टीम है वह समय नहीं देखती है, घंटे नहीं देखते हैं, वह एक एम्प्लॉय की तरह से नहीं, वो एक मिशनरी की तरह से काम करते हैं। यह हमारा सौभाग्य है। और हमारा विश्वविद्यालय, हमारा आयुर्वेद महाविद्यालय, हमारे गुरुकुल, हमारे आचार्य कुल, ये शिक्षण संस्थान, उनके माध्यम से हम अनेक योग्य चिकित्सक, योग्य स्नातक, परास्नातक, PhD हम करके पूरी दुनिया में भी वो सेवाएं प्रदान कर रहे हैं। हमारे से विश्वविद्यालय से निकले हुए, आयुर्वेद महाविद्यालय से निकले हुए बच्चे भी दुनिया के अनेक देशों में सेवा कर रहे हैं। यह हमारा सामर्थ्य है, ये हमारे को प्रसन्नता और शांति प्रदान करता है। हमारे पूज्य श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी ने भारतीय संस्कृति और परंपरा को वैश्विक रूप में एक दिशा और स्वरूप देने का काम किया है। श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी के नेतृत्व में हमारे बहुत सारे सन्यासीगण, साध्वियाँ, ब्रह्मचारी, ब्रह्मचारिणियाँ, जो हिंदू धर्म के अंदर जिसको हम कहते हैं, जो आध्यात्मिक मार्ग के जो हमारी टीम है, जो ऋषियों की परंपरा है, उस परंपरा को अक्षुण्ण बना करके सैकड़ों ऐसे ब्रह्मचारी सन्यासी स्वामी जी ने तैयार किए हैं, जो देश और पूरी दुनिया में योग और आयुर्वेद को पहुंचाने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं। इसके अतिरिक्त पतंजलि आज लगभग 10 लाख से ज़्यादा समर्पित सेवाभावी, जो सेवा के भाव से पूरे देश के अंदर सेवाएं प्रदान कर रहे हैं, चाहे वो देश की कितनी भी सुदूर क्षेत्र हो, चाहे कठिनाइयों से जुड़ा हुआ क्षेत्र हो। इसी तरह से हमारे शिक्षक दुनिया के लगभग 10 देशों में तो व्यवस्थित रूप से, बड़े बड़े देशों में शिक्षक के माध्यम से काम कर रहे हैं। इंडिविजुअल रूप में, संगठन नहीं, स्वतंत्र रूप में तो लगभग दुनिया के हर बड़े देशों में पतंजलि के शिक्षक सेवाएं प्रदान कर रहे हैं। तो यह एक समय, जिस तरह से संस्थान ने अपने आप को वैश्विक स्वरूप प्रदान किया है, पूरे विश्व में अपनी उपस्थिति दर्ज कराई है, तो अनुसंधान के माध्यम से, रिसर्च के माध्यम से, हम चिकित्सा विज्ञान में एविडेंस बेस्ड मेडिसिन की बात की जाती है, उसको आधारित चिकित्सा विधा के रूप में योग और आयुर्वेद को स्थापित करने का बड़ा कार्य भी, प्रामाणिकता के साथ भूमिका निभाने का काम भी पतंजलि के द्वारा किया जा रहा है। यह 3 दिन का जो आयोजन है, उसी परंपरा को, उसी कार्य को विश्व के यहाँ पर महान वैज्ञानिक लोग हैं, उनके सम्मुख रखने का, और दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है वो हमको बताएंगे भी। हम सिर्फ देने की बात नहीं कर रहे, हम सीखने की भी बात कर रहे हैं। यदि हमने आपको बुलाया है, आपको आमंत्रित किया है, हम आपसे सीखेंगे भी, आपसे जानेंगे भी। जो हम कर रहे हैं उसमें हमें और क्या बेहतर हम कर सकते हैं, हमें और करना चाहिए, वो हम आपसे सीखेंगे। और संभवतः आपको भी वह कुछ यहाँ मिलेगा जो दुनिया में अन्यत्र नहीं मिला होगा, आपने कभी सोचा ना होगा। तो यहाँ से जाने के बाद हमें यह भी पूरा विश्वास है, पतंजलि के द्वारा किए हुए कार्य को आप हमारे या हमारे अभिभावक की भूमिका को आप निभाएंगे, यह हमें पूरा विश्वास है। क्योंकि यह कार्य, यह किसी संस्था का काम नहीं है, यह किसी व्यक्ति का कार्य नहीं है, यह तो मानवता का कार्य है। यह मानवता के लिए है। आप सब जितने बैठे हैं, सब आयु वृद्ध हैं, वृद्ध हैं, सब लोग, आपका एक ही लक्ष्य रहा है कि मानवता को हम कैसे जीवित रख सकते हैं, मानव को कैसे हम सुखी, मानव जीवन को कैसे हम निरोग बना सकते हैं, इसके लिए आपने जीवन भर काम किया है। तो यहाँ से वह सूत्र आपको शायद और मजबूती के साथ कुछ यहाँ से समझने को मिलेगा। तो मैं पुनः आप सबके आगमन के लिए और सभी मंचासीन सम्मानित अतिथिगण और मेरे सम्मुख सभी हमारे अतिथि और बाहर से आए हुए भाई बंधु और हमारे संस्थान के कर्मयोगी भाई और हमारे सभी छात्र छात्राओं को भी इस रूप में कि शुभकामना तो है, शुभकामना के साथ में ये जो 3 दिन हैं, इन 3 दिनों का आप भरपूर लाभ उठाएं और प्रयास करिए कि आप अपने क्षेत्र में बेहतरी के लिए यहाँ से क्या सीख सकते हैं, उसके लिए एक एक क्षण का, एक एक पल का आप सदुपयोग करें। क्योंकि सीखने के क्षण जीवन में कभी कभी मिलते हैं, प्रयोग करने के क्षण तो जीवन भर हमें मिलते ही रहते हैं। तो यह एक दिव्य क्षण है, उस दिव्यता को हम जीवन में उतारेंगे तो दिव्यता का नेता के साथ हमारे सोशल मीडिया की जगह पर दुनिया के लोगों को भी पता चले कि पतंजलि तरह से मानवता के लिए एक बड़ा कार्य हो रहा है। तो पुनः मैं आप सबको प्रणाम।
कुछ बच्चे ब्रह्मलोक में है, वो धरती पर अवतरित हो सकते में थे। आगे का कार्य है वैसे।
Thank you all the dignitaries and guests. Now may I request you to kindly proceed down the seat. With a vision and commitment to heal the human suffering through yoga and Ayurveda, Param Pujya Shri Swami Ji Maharaj and Param Shraddhe Shri Acharya Ji Maharaj have been constantly striving endlessly and tirelessly. Their intense efforts have led to the acceptance of Ayurveda and yoga practices by millions of people worldwide. Patanjali Research Institute was in 2017. Patanjali Research Institute was set up in 2017 with the vision to leverage our ancient, couple it with modern technologies, and deliver Ayurveda to the world. Let's get some insights into this state-of-art research facility and its vision. Let's get some insights into the state-of-art facility of Patanjali Research Institute through this short documentary.
आरोग्यम परमम भाग्यम, swasthyam sarvarth sadhanam. Health is the biggest wealth in one's life. It is the only thing with which all the other things can be achieved in life. The ancient Indian knowledge of the Vedas endorses and provides guidance for achieving holistic health. With the mission to establish the knowledge of Ayurveda and Yoga, Patanjali Research Institute started its journey in 2017 with its formal inauguration by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji. The term Ayurveda is derived from the Sanskrit words Ayur, meaning life, and Ved, meaning science or knowledge. Thus, Ayurveda translates to knowledge of life. Based on the idea that disease is due to an imbalance or stress in a person's consciousness, Ayurveda encourages certain lifestyle interventions and natural therapies to regain a balance between the body, mind, spirit, and the environment. Ayurveda has its origin in Atharvaveda, the fourth of the four Vedas. Vedas are the cardinal scriptures of ancient Indian culture, meant to guide human race through each and every aspect of healthy and fruitful life at physical, mental, and spiritual level. The doctrines of Ayurveda were documented by the great sage Maharshi Charak in his world-famous treatise Charak Samhita around 5000 BC. Another great sage, Maharshi Shushruta, who is revered as the father of surgery, has authored Shushruta Samhita, the compendium on surgery. Shushruta Samhita classifies human surgeries into categories, describes 60 types of upkarma for treatment of wound, 120 surgical instruments, and 300 surgical procedures. Patanjali family feels privileged to be able to uphold these unfathomable treasure troves of ancient science and epitomize the ancient heritage of the sages who have seeded the concept of universal health, peace, equality, harmony with human values. Patanjali Research Institute, or PRI, is engaged in the research and development of Ayurvedic drugs. PRI aims to establish India as the launchpad for the growth and development of Ayurveda and become a prototype for the rest of the world, with an aim to become a global research institute on traditional Indian medicinal systems. Despite being in its infancy, with just 5 years since its establishment, PRI has already established a compelling body of scientific evidence to explain the rationales behind Ayurvedic principles. These research works are published in different high-impact peer-reviewed international journals and are currently receiving critical appreciation from the scientific community across the world. PRI has 3 divisions. First, Drug Discovery and Development Division. Second, Patanjali Herbal Research Division, or PHRD, and Ayurveda and Sanskrit Division. With the goal of achieving global scientific acceptance for Ayurveda, the Drug Discovery and Development Division, besides engaging in R&D for Ayurvedic drug development, backs up the scientific rationales of Ayurveda with mechanistic studies. Drug Discovery and Development Division is an interdisciplinary research unit with 5 departments: chemistry, in vitro biology, in vivo biology, microbiology, and clinical research. At Patanjali Research Laboratories, the modern scientific rationale behind ancient wisdom of Ayurveda is being deciphered and validated using cutting-edge technologies as per reverse pharmacology concept, with a resolute target to establish Ayurvedic medicines as evidence-based medicines. Patanjali Herbal Research Division, PHRD, is involved in taxonomical identification and documentation of the endemic medicinal flora of India and world in order to address the growing awareness and acceptance of Ayurveda, Patanjali has taken up the ardent task of offering the World Herbal Encyclopedia. In this compendium, nearly 1 million vernacular names of medicinal plants in more than 1650 languages of the world are being incorporated. The handmade canvas paintings of 35,000 plants are being included as illustrations in the encyclopedia. This work will get compiled into nearly 100,000 pages with approximately 600,000 references and citations. It will provide detailed analysis and description of more than 60,000 medicinal herbs preeminent in more than 2,000 ethnic groups across the world. Patanjali Research Institute has a herbal garden housing more than 1,000 medicinal plants. The institute is working towards amalgamating modern science with traditional knowledge of Ayurveda with the target of Sarve Santu Niramaya, meaning let all be free from illness. Patanjali Research Institute is taking major steps towards developing general and scientific awareness regarding Ayurveda and Yoga in India and across the globe.
It is my great pleasure and privilege to invite on stage Dr. Anurag Varshney, Vice President, Patanjali Research Institute, Haridwar, to further a privilege to be associated with this esteemed organization and work under your guidance.
Om, good morning and Suprabhatam. This is indeed a privilege to have you all here in the third tranche of our meeting on plants to patients. We have been working on this basic theme of using herbal medicine and taking them towards successful treatment processes towards the patients. And we are meeting it for the third time in the same series. We had two of those meetings earlier. One is last year and one was just some time before, where we talked about clinical relevance of those ethnomedicines. Today, we are talking about ethnopharmacology in a global perspective, where we are looking at different treatment strategies used at different countries, and we are privileged to have the experts coming over from different parts of the world. So with that, I formally welcome all of you with the blessings of Param Shraddheya Acharya Param Pujya Swamiji, and I bow in their holy feet and take their blessings to move ahead. Patanjali Research Institute is the center institute of Patanjali conglomerate, where we have been working on generating scientific evidences of the herbal medicines and also other Ayurvedic formulations. Today, I will try to explain the way Patanjali Research Institute have been working and how this conference is organized and how this meeting fits in the global goal of PRI for years to come. So, as I said, this is the third meeting on Plant to Patient series, and we are rethinking ethnopharmacology. Some of you, the students who are sitting in the audience, may not be knowing the exact meaning of ethnopharmacology, and some of you might also be getting worried that what is it really into and why we are sitting in here, because I see a lot of students from university and from Ayurvedic college. So for you, ethnopharmacology is actually a practice of ethnical medicines and their conversion or their conversion towards a clinical practice and the proof of concept of their working. So you're combining ethnical with the pharmacology, and you get the word ethnopharmacology. So ethnopharmacology conference we are entering into, and we have several speakers lined up here, as we heard from Param Pujya Acharya and Param Shraddheya Swamiji, that we have 31 speakers lined up, and some of them are here. We formally welcome them, and some of them would be joining at the due course of it. But to set the flavor right, I have a couple of slides to show that who are our guests today, tomorrow, and day after, and we will quickly go through with the thinking that we have. So we have Professor Ilof from South Africa, Professor Barpote from Netherlands, Professor Delfino from Italy. While I'm speaking, I will request all of my colleagues to start clapping for our guests so that at least we get them the warm welcome. Professor Yuan Xing Chang, what we call Acharji has renamed him today Chacha Chaudhary, and we are very happy to have him here, sir. And I really get inspired by your enthusiasm and your photographic skills, which is very nice indeed. And we have Professor Ajiling Yu joining it online from Hong Kong, Professor Namrata Lal also joining online from South Africa. We have Professor Abhishek Purolia, who would be here tomorrow. He's coming from Malaysia. Professor Shitesh Watcher is coming from Bangladesh. Ms. Radha Sani sitting right over here from Philippines. She's from WHO consultant. And then from Indian things, we have really nice galaxy of people. We have Professor Balram, who's coming from, Professor Balram is an ex-director of IISc Bangalore. Right now, he is working at TIFR NCBS, National Center for Biological Sciences, my alma mater, and he would be connecting us a day after tomorrow morning, and we will learn a lot from him. We have Professor Chintamani coming from Bardhaman Mahavir Medical College, Delhi, Safdarjung Hospital. Professor Ramesh Goyal is the Vice Chancellor of Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University, DIPCU from New Delhi. He would also join us. We have Professor Dr. Raman Mohan Singh, which is Pharmacopoeia Commissions of India. Professor Meenu Singh, the director from AIIMS Rishikesh. Professor Shubhni Saraf, director of Naipur Library. She would be joining us shortly as well. And then we have Professor Ravi Narayan Acharya. He is the Director General, CCRS, Ministry of Ayush. That council is actually directed towards taking the research of Ayurvedic medicines to the bigger space. Professor Bhanu Duggal, our old friend and collaborator from AIIMS Rishikesh, and Professor Ajay Singh, the director of AIIMS Bhopal. Professor Sunil Kumar Joshi, we just met him, he was on the stage, the Vice Chancellor of Uttarakhand Ayurvedic University. Professor Anurag Srivastava, sir, he's actually a host, and I think he's playing a double role of being a host as the guest both as well. And Professor Partha Roy from IIT Roorkee. Professor Ganesh S. from IIT Kanpur, Dr. Rakesh Maurya from CDRI, Lucknow, and Dr. Sandeep Bharate from IIM Jammu, and we will hear a lot from him regarding phytopharmaceuticals and how we can take herbal medicines towards being a legitimate, towards being a drug status that can be accepted across the world. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Ashok Sharma coming from AIIMS Delhi and Dr. Rakesh Kumarji coming from Naipur Library. So taking it together, on behalf of Patanjali and Patanjali Research Institute, I formally welcome all of you right here for this conference, and we look forward to take the wisdom from you in the long term. So thank you very much, all of you. So now I will move towards introducing PRI, and I'm sure the team graphics from PRI has put all the efforts in form of a small video that you just saw. So some of the information might be repetitive, but some we will be going in detail and trying to explain which direction we are heading on and what are our long-term goals and where we stand right now and how do we see ourselves 5 years down the lane. So we are blessed by Param Shraddha Acharya and Param Shraddha Swamiji, where we learned on daily basis, really daily basis, that what are our path ahead, and the guidance that we get are truly mesmerizing, because there are some pearls of wisdom, they come all of a sudden, but sometimes they are really in a way that you can't really figure it out what is the genesis of it. But most of the scientific discoveries we are making, most of the things that we are claiming, and most of the things which are getting peer-reviewed and accepted across the world are coming as an inform of blessings from Swamiji and Acharya. For that, thank you very much, Acharya and Swamiji, for being the guiding light for the PRI and taking us and telling us where should be going and how we should be moving ahead. Thank you again. So PRI, Patanjali Research Institute, is a relatively a younger institute. It's, I would call, we are still in the infancy. We are just growing. It's just a 5-year-old institution, which was inaugurated in 2017 by our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji. And these, the institute has several laboratories, and these laboratories have been set up to bridge the gap between the modern practice and our ancient medicinal knowledge of yoga and Ayurveda. And today, Swamiji has shown us very live example of 10 odd people who have been getting a treatment benefit of yoga and Ayurveda combined, which itself shows the value of these processes and how the human suffering from diseases can be controlled or cured by using both of those techniques. And it's a combination of that, yoga, Ayurveda, and naturopathy, and the keyword what Swamiji has coined, integrated medicine, that's the way forward towards it. So PRI has been working on its part to actually establish the concept of integrated medicines and taking it forward towards a whole mankind. These labs that we are talking about, these are probably one of the kind, literally state-of-the-art facilities to conduct research on Ayurveda and yoga. Top-of-the-line equipment, globally trained workforce, ignite the thoughts, and we get those research operations working on a daily basis. And as Acharya said very, very nicely in his opening address, that all the people who work, who are the scientists at PRI, they are actually working as a part of the mission. Most of the scientists do not really work by the clock. Most of people are worked by the passion, and that's one of the core competency of being scientist. So the passion, when it gets mixed by a mission, the outcomes are fantastic. And we have been lucky to actually merging both part of it. So now we are working as a mission, loaded with the passion, and delivering the final outcome where the institute would be heading it for. So the mission that we have, as Acharya mentioned it very clearly, we aim to improve the health and quality of life through research and innovation. So we are focusing on research, we are focusing on innovation, and our goal is to help the mankind and increase their health, increase their life, and also the quality that attached to it. And how do we do? The vision for meeting that mission has been to actually take the Ayurvedic and herbal medicine information which is there from our sages. And I very strongly believe, and my team also resonate in the same frequencies, that we are the followers of our sages. As Swamiji says very correctly several times, and I really get goosebumps when I hear it, that hum rishi or rishikaon ki santan hai. That means that we are the kids, we are the next generation of the sages who are there several centuries before. And they have some sort of knowledge, some sort of clinical practice, some sort of science, which were there several thousand years before, and that is being transporting to us through the several generations. Now getting that into a form, which form can be understood by the people outside India or the people across the globe in a language and the format that they understand, that's a goal that we are looking forward. So what we do, we take those raw information, sometimes it's unstructured, sometimes it's structured, and couple it with the rich history of medicinal plants which are present in India, and we combine it together and funnel it through a separate processes, like having an old wisdom, practice of the modern science with a huge scope of delivery, go for multi-pronged approach, like doing multiple things together, develop something called research Ayurveda, and finally go towards the pinnacle, what we call scientifically validated, evidence-based medicinal system, which would be very well characterized and would be acceptable across the globe. So that is the vision that we are working with, which is lined up with the mission that we already have. And the strategy for that has been to set up the whole process one by one. So we started, as we call initiation, we transited, we actualized, and we are heading toward the excellence. So right now we are at the stage of actualization. We have energized workforce, ignited thoughts, and quality delivery. And all of these three parameters are being done in a day and out manner. And our final aim is to the epitome of excellence, where we would go towards universal acceptance of Ayurveda, the Indian traditional medicine system. Thank you. Now, I will quickly take you towards a brief history of time for PRI. So PRI, Patanjali Research Institute, was set up under a trust called Patanjali Research Foundation Trust. That trust has many activities. PRI is one of that activity. The trust was established in August 2010, and the whole process, the genesis of the trust was to focus on scientific evidence for yoga and Ayurveda and try to get them as a system of medicine. Then from 2010 to 2017, lot of activities were done. Classical collection of the information, compilation of the checkbooks, checklist, and restoration of the ancient manuscript, and the whole work started to roll on. And during this period of little bit of dormancy, the initiation of the mega project or World Herbal Encyclopedia initiated at that time, which was a brainchild of Acharya, and he thought several years before that there has to be a compendium of the herbal information practice across the world, and which shows the spectrum and the horizon of the thought process Acharya had. So he visualized several years before that what would be needed today. And that thought process has ignited that time, and whole workforce started to move in, and the PRI started to take a shape. And the formal shape happened in 2017, where Modi ji came and inaugurated the institute, and the formal operation initiated. From 2017 to 2019 onwards, we took a giant leap. We actually set up our laboratories, started to do a very detailed biology, very detailed chemistry, and try to find out how things really work and how we can take this forward. So there is a lot of process that will happen. You will hear more about it from me, my few slides, and later from my colleague, Dr. Bedpuri Aryaji. She will talk about how these things happen in parallel too. These things happen in this due process in 2019. The international recognition came. Acharya was selected as an UN SDG most influential person in the healthcare, and which was a mega achievement for Patanjali Research Institute. I'll invite all of you to clap for that achievement for us. So that put the Ayurveda and yoga on a global perspective, and I would like to also add that during the ceremony for this award in Geneva, Acharya delivered his opening speech in the mother language of Ayurveda, Sanskrit. And what we are seeing it today, the live translation from the team led by Ramji, where we are getting the translation from Hindi to English. The similar technology was existing at that time, where Acharya was speaking in Sanskrit and people was listening in 8 different languages as per their choice. And that's where we realized that Sanskrit is being put right at the stage where it should be actually belonged. 2020 and 2022, we actually grew multifold. We also worked on COVID medicines, because that was a challenge at that moment of time, that what are the herbal medicines that can be taken to take care of the COVID, the menace that we had in form of pandemic at that time, where there was no real treatment available, let alone talking about treatment. There was no actually clue how to take care of the disease, how to manage, how to stop its spread, how to control this infection, and how to take care of the post-COVID syndrome. So there were a lot of challenges. And at that time, Acharya and Swamiji actually guided us in the right path. We start looking for the options that we have in our classical medicines, how we can use different herbs to take care of this virus. And I'm very happy to report and feel very proud to say that Patanjali Research Institute has contributed significantly on those lines, and we formulated the first medicine ever that came for the COVID, Coronil. And that was done by the team under the guidance of Acharya and Swamiji. So those were done, and we set up collaborations, generated relations. Right now, Patanjali has national MOUs with 30 big institutions across India. There are several universities, there are several institutes, several medical colleges where we work in tandem, and we have 10 international MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, to work together for collaboration and cooperation. We are also labeled as Center of Excellence for Research on Tribal Healers and Medicinal Plant in Uttarakhand, as per the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India. We have been working very hard on generating scientific evidences. Most of the scientific evidences we generated, we publish. So more than 400 papers are there in public domain, 75 volumes, more than 75 volumes, in fact, of World Herbal Encyclopedia are there, which you will hear more from Bedpuri about it. And then several books on agricultures and technological interventions, and utter focus on the quality output that we have been working on. In addition, we have been working on developing new medicines, new formulations, and try to validate them in terms of the scientific output. So with the guidance from Swamiji and Acharya, we have generated close to 50 new Ayurvedic formulations, and a brand new series of medicines, GRID series, have been initiated, where we are trying to give a power to the organ where the disease might be there. So the GRID sense comes. The grid becomes, in Hindi, what we call Jujarupan. So for example, if we're talking about liver grid, so we are giving power to fight with the disease to the liver, so the disease can be taken care of by the medication itself. And in last 24 months, we have published more than 75 papers in very high impact factor journals, and the journey is continuing. Our target in 2023-2024 is to have renaissance in Ayurveda and related traditional medicinal system, exploration of the research that will bridge Ayurveda with the evidence-based scientific approaches would continue at Patanjali Research Institute as we move along. Now, when we talk about research, there are basic regulations that one need to have. So what we call them research strength and accreditations at Patanjali. So PRI, Patanjali Research Institute, has a very diversified research framework. That would mean that the requirement to do the research are there by the specific regulatory bodies. So our labs are certified by NABL, which is a quality compliance group that we have in India. Labs are certified by DSIR, which is coming from Indian government, that allows us to do the research as a regulatory need for the institution. We have more than 300 scientists, several hundred PhDs, scores of postdoctorate fellows with global experiences who have been trained in several countries outside India. We have a full-fledged registered animal house as per the CPCA requirement, which actually covers by Animal Ethics Committee. Patanjali Research Foundation also has a herbarium, which is accredited with the New York Botanical Gardens, so then we can actually also certify the herbs as per the herbarium rules. The research labs are in compliance with biosafety, because when we are dealing with the pathogens, then it becomes very important that the handlers do not get infections or do not get contaminated themselves. So in that case, biosafety plays a very significant role. In Ayurvedic field, not many people really do these kind of certification, but with the blessings of Acharya-ji and directions from Swami-ji, we have been working towards it. So our labs are right now biosafety level 2 certified, physically ready for biosafety level 3. Hopefully very soon we will start the operations for biosafety level 3 as well at PRI. And we conduct several clinical trials, and we have institutional ethics committees for human clinical trials, and all the studies that we do get registered with CTRI, which is Clinical Trial Registry of India, and also get uploaded on the WHO Central Registry across the world. So if you go to that registry and search for Patanjali, you will see several studies which have been conducted at PRI at this moment. In addition, we have an attached Ayurvedic hospital, which has 350 beds, which is just right next door, which again accredited with NABH. We have approved Ayurvedic Medical College, which has a PG approval in 8 subjects, and most of you are sitting in the audience. So if you want, you can clap for yourself as well. In addition, as Acharya mentioned, that we have all India, pan-India presence. More than 2,500 medical doctors are on the roster of Patanjali, with a daily footfall of 20,000 patients across India. What would that mean? That now we are talking about numbers, we are talking about volumes. That would mean close to 10 million patients data, 1 crore patient, what Acharya just mentioned. That is there, which is compiled on a Patanjali electronic medical records, which has several diseases, several age groups, several ethnicity, several geographical locations, and also the different kind of treatment that has been given. So the data is actually growing very well. Now we are thinking about using the big data analytic techniques to harvest that information and see how does those Ayurvedic medicine has worked and helped so many lakhs of patients for last so many years. So that is also coming up very soon. So if we talk about Patanjali Research Foundation segments, so as I said, it's a foundation that controls PRI, that has multiple segments. Main segment that we talk about are 5 segments. There's a herbal research, where we talk about how the herbs work. There's herbal documentation. Priyaji will talk about it just after me, and will give you detailed information on those. Then is drug discovery and development, which I'll cover in next 3 slides of mine. Then we have paintings and herbarium, how the paintings and herbarium have been preserved and what's the need for it. You will hear about that as well. We also work on ancient documents, as you saw in the video just before that. And we have a dedicated team of yoga research, which is led by Dr. Shirley Tellis, where we actually try to see how the yoga practice would help the biological function of a given patient. All of these 5 segments work together in very strong, tight harmony and try to meet the goal, mission, and vision of PRI. Other than these 5, we have the 4 other sister units across other part of Patanjali where we get help. Patanjali Organic Research Institute, Central Lab at Patanjali Ayurveda Limited, New Product Development Team at Patanjali Ayurveda Limited, now it's also part of Patanjali Foods, and Patanjali Hospital and Ayurvedic College. So altogether they are 9, and all of these 9 really actually take things forward, and we try to build, maintain, and deliver the science that we have been talking about. Now, what we do at drug discovery and development. So this team, the team of close to 80 scientists now, actually has 5 major divisions: in vitro biology, in vivo biology, herbal chemistry, microbiology, and clinical research. And we get guidance for all 5 of them independently from Acharji on daily basis. And what you see on the screen is a very small glimpse of our infrastructure. All the visitors and the guests that we have the conference here today, I humbly invite you and request you, if your time permits, do visit our laboratory and try to see the type of work that we're trying to put it on. There is a very strong hold of technology that we have at PRI, and we feel very proud and privileged, all of us here, to actually work in this kind of environment where the technological interventions are never limited. So whatever the experiment we have to conduct, we actually do as per the requirement of the experiment, so which is very nice, and that comfort for a scientist is always very well welcome. So the research segment we work at PRI, as I mentioned, in vitro biology. So the strength of in vitro biology is that we have various cell lines of human origin and very extensive cell biological experiment we conduct. Genomics and microbiology support the cell biology, and we have recently moved into nano Ayurveda, where we talk about the nanoscience behind the Ayurveda. Dr. Kunal Bhattacharya will talk to you regarding the same probably day after tomorrow, where he will mention the whole effort the team has been putting for looking for the nanoscience of Ayurveda. In vivo biology, we do very in-depth animal experiments. We work on rat, mice, guinea pigs, rabbits. We work with zebrafish, and of late we have added C. elegans, the worms. So these are all very well standard models of disease which have been accepted across the world, and modern practice of science is banking on the animal science data that comes on. In Ayurveda, not much has been done in past, but with the thought process and the foresightedness of Acharji that have been set up several years before, and all that hard work is now yielding fruit, and we are getting what we should be getting by using these animal models. We then move to herbal chemistry, which actually almost like a mother department, because herbal chemistry is the place where we generate different extracts, different compounds, make enriched extracts, and try to find out what could be a potential formulation for a drug. So herbal chemistry feeds to other departments, and this team is actually equipped with a very detailed analytical chemistry, LCMS, GCMS, UHPLC, FTIR, SFCs. These are the very modern technology to look for the chemical composition of the herbal drugs that we work with. We have then extraction chemistry based on SCFE, which is supercritical fluid extraction system, and we also use co-solvent to get things what we need to get. And then we have a dedicated pilot plant where the first batch of the trial medicines can be made, and of late we have been helping to generate those medicines to actually send for clinical trials, which are being manufactured at PRI pilot plant. In microbiology, we have been handling bacteria, fungus, and virus, and we have been now working on superinfections. And superinfections are the infection where you have multiple infectivity combined together. For example, virus and bacteria are together. That would have a more severity of the disease than both of them when they are there in isolation. So we work on those as well. In addition, we also work on the host-pathogen interaction. That means how our host cells are responding towards the pathogenic insult that we get. So that again comes under the purview of host pathogen under microbiology. And in the end, we go towards clinical research where we conduct clinical trials. Randomized controlled trials are being done by the team PRI. Clinical surveys are done where we collect the data from the patients who are there in our treatment centers, Yogram and Patanjali Wellness, and we try to find out which medicine is having a better effect in those patients. And we do pharmacovigilance. That means we also try to see if at all there is any side effect or adverse effect reported, can we compile it and try to find out how we can take it forward. So we work on different medicines, and this slide just shows you the approach that we have been working. Right now we have been focusing at looking at one disease at a time, and there we're trying to find out what herbal combination would have a better value or better medicinal benefit. So we work on these 5 major areas: inflammation, metabolic disorder, cancer, neuroscience, and infectious diseases. And the numbers you see next to it are the number of medicines we have worked upon, or number of formulation we have worked in these areas. And the disease are just mentioned next to it: rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, asthma, psoriasis, bronchitis, COPD, and so on and so forth. Our team that have been working very significantly have been going very strong on metabolic disorders, diabetes, CBDs, liver problems, kidney problems, dyslipidemia. We have developed a lot of models, cell biological model and animal models, where we could show the efficacy of the drugs. And this is just a glimpse of few Ayurvedic medicinal products for human diseases which have been developed and validated on the basis of the models that we just talked about. And here are a few more which have been also worked upon. Now, this is almost the last segment I am entering into, the theme that we have been working and what have been guided by Acharya on the same way. That the drug development, so I personally come from, before coming to here 5 years before, I was working for pharma industry, where my job was to actually look for a synthetic drug to take from part A to the part B and part C. That means starting from a molecule, going towards animals and going towards man, which is a classical path of the drug development. So that is a normal path and most of the pharma company has been doing it. At Patanjali, for us, reverse is the new way forward. That means we are going back. We are finding it that you can do a reverse pharmacology. That would mean, since we already have the knowledge from our sages who has told us, which is very well documented, that the given plant extract work very well for this disease, and it has been in the clinical practice for so many centuries. So that would mean the efficacy, what is called efficacy, like that the drug works against a given disease, that the efficacy is there. And since it's there for so many century use and there's no side effect which have been reported, that means safety is also there. And these are the two big parameters for drug development. You talk about safety, you talk about efficacy. And the ratio of both of them is called therapeutic advantage, TI. And that tells you which direction your drug is going to move. In case of Ayurvedic drugs, or most of the herbal drugs for that matter, this advantage always exists. And what we have been trying to build then, that if this advantage is there, that we already have a drug which has a clinically proven efficacy, can we find out how it is really working and how this drug can take care of the diseases. That means we will go back from the path, and that's what we call reverse pharmacology. So it's inspired by traditional knowledge, and it is against from the routine laboratory to clinic. It is actually going from clinic to laboratories. And we going from man to mice to molecule. Again, three important M's, that we start from human, that we already have data, we go to mice or any other model, try to find out how this is working, and then we go towards the molecule. So what are the molecules present in that drug which might be having an effect, the type of effect that we are seeing in the clinical conditions. So this concept has been yielding very well, and we have been trying to validate and establishing this, that how things are moving ahead. And this movement and this whole hypothesis is banked upon a golden triangle principle. That means that there is a triangle which has three arms. First is Ayurveda, of our traditional wisdom, the herbal medicine that we know, the other form of medicine that we know, which are coming from Ayurveda. And then we combine that with the modern science. Now, modern science, when I say, it means technological advances. It doesn't really mean modern clinical practice point. It's just like using different technologies. For example, X-rays, ECGs. These are the scientific intervention which help the mankind to detect the disease or to decipher the mode of action. Now, combine that Ayurveda with modern sciences, combined with then modern medicine, where we can conduct a controlled clinical trial. And these three things together will generate a golden triangle, and that is the approach PRI is doing for drug discovery. And that's what we are looking and trying to strike, this much needed balance, that how we can take it forward in a balanced way, where we have all three of them set up at the right place at the right time in a correct manner. Now, some of the themes that PRI, a drug discovery team, has been working on, and I'll give you a very quick glimpse on it, and just to show that what you would hear from the team members as we move along in this meeting. So, one of the themes that we have been working is looking at mechanistic insight into classical Ayurvedic medicines using modern techniques. That means all the medicines which are defined classically, how they really work. The one I just talked about, triangle principle, golden triangle thing. And the classical example is that we just published last week on Anutela against mucormycosis. So mucormycosis, most of you know as a black fungus disease, which came in India just after COVID, because most of the people was treated with a high amount of steroids, their immunity was low, and that led a lot of black fungus disease. In some cases, it was fatal, and in some cases, it actually consumed the eye and the brain and other body part. At that moment, there was no real treatment other than putting some sort of antifungal, which was not very efficacious. Acharya has guided us that why not we try a nasal drop which is existing in classical literature. 2,500 years old medicine, Anutela, which is a nasal drop. We actually did a detailed experiment and tried to find out, does it really work the way we are hoping for? And we are very happy to report that yes, indeed it worked. And then we could find out why it is working. And there is a detailed data that you can find in public domain that this tela really goes and kick out the fungus. It takes care of his spore generation. It also affects the thallus of the fungus and also affects the integrity of the cellular wall of the fungus. And all three ways we could take it forward. Yes, indeed, Anutela works against mucormycosis. And we have done it for 2 different types of fungus, and the data was very strong. In this context, I may want to add one more point, that the language of our science, most of the time we practice, and the language that I am speaking is English, because that have been universally accepted so far. But the basic language where Ayurveda and Yoga has been defined is Sanskrit, which is a very logical and scientific language. Most of things which are there in Sanskrit are very well defined. Now, in botany, where we defined plants by their name and we call them binomial names. For example, you will call Giloy, Guruchui, Tinospora cardifolia, 2 names, right? But how about the naming pattern in classical Sanskrit process? Unfortunately, none of that really existed. And again, as usual, Acharya thought of it several years before. And what we started to do, the whole team of nomenclature came in the picture. We started having a Vedic taxonomy where each plant starts to be named in a binomial system. And there is a name for each plant in Sanskrit, and just by reading that name, you can decipher how the plant would look like. And that was the biggest challenge and the biggest success. And I really bow down for Acharya for the same, that he thought it that far, that just by knowing a name, you can understand what the plant would be. And that was a big thing. What we did in additional, that we take all of those Sanskrit binomial names and we try to convince the people outside India that these nomenclature systems also have a scientific validation. And I'm very happy to report, in the recent paper of Anutela, we were the first one to actually publish those names in a scientific journal in the mother language of science, Sanskrit. So Team PRI, Team Patanjali, feel proud of this feat and clap for yourself and do it in a larger way, please. Second theme we work is to develop new Ayurvedic medicines based on the information provided in ancient text through the use of modern medicine. The one I talked about, the whole grid series, where we're trying to generate new combination of formulation from the guidance and instructions from Swamiji and Acharya. We are developing several of those. More than 50 have been developed. Few examples are Coronal, Bronchom, Libogrid, Pyranil, Lithome, Renogrid, several of them. You will hear about Renogrid and Lithome tomorrow from Sandeep ji. Sandeep is our head of in vivo biology, and he will talk to you that how the discovery of Renogrid and Lithome both happened together. So he will talk about kidney disease in general. Lithome works for urolithiasis, what we call kidney stones, and Renogrid works against CKD, chronic kidney disease, and he will then talk to you regarding the same. Third theme we are working is the re-establishing the science of ancient Indian nanomedicines. So Indian traditional system also has a lot of natural nanomedicines. And one of the nanomedicine formulations that we have really know now are bhasmas. Bhasmas are metal or mineral particles which are incinerated at a very high temperature and filtered through a very fine technology. And the particle comes out of almost like 200 nanometer or lesser. So that means they are naturally nanometer in size. But how they really impart their medicinal benefit also becomes an important part. So the team here at Patanjali have been working on those medicines. We are also working on Dhupan. So Dhupan is again a process. We heard about, I think, some gentleman who had a psoriasis, he was talking about it, that he got exposed to the fumes coming post-yagya. So dhupan, you generate a lot of fumes where those fumes have medicinal value, and there are nanoparticles in those fumes which are coming from the herbs which were actually burned for the whole process. So those nanomedicines we have been also working and trying to establish both of them independently in terms of their scientific output. Some of the bhasma data is actually very strong for cancer, and Dr. Savita Lochab, a senior scientist from in vitro biology team, will talk to you regarding diamond bhasma, Hirak bhasma, how that is showing a fantastic outcome against cancer, specifically against leukemia. And that's a brand new data came last week, and she will be sharing that with you tomorrow as well. And the third thing we are working, identifying and establishing novel use of either new herbs or different part of existing medicinal herb. And that is rather important for us. Why? Because we have been talking about all the ancient medicines that are there for several thousand years. For last 200 years, unfortunately, not many new discoveries have been made. That means the drug discovery and development in Ayurveda got really slowed down for last 200 years or so. And that is not really nice. So what we wanted to do to actually identify whether we have some new use of addition of those medicinal herb, or if we can find a new part of an existing plant. For example, if you have ashwagandha, where the roots are very well defined to have medicinal property, but how about other part of the plant, the whole plant, the leaves, the seeds and flower and fruit? If we do not have much information in classical literature, can we generate that and try to find whether those would be very helpful for taking care of human diseases? So that is a sort of new drug discovery, which is the core name of the team at PRI, and that's where we really fit in, to find out whether we can find a good use of a new plant or a better use of a other part of a given plant. Good example would be kakla singhi, ashwagandha seed oil, and ashwagandha whole plant. From Savita, you will hear about kakla singhi, how does it work for cancer. And from Swati, the leader from microbiology team, we will hear about ashwagandha seed oil and ashwagandha whole plant, how those could be useful for taking care of various infections. And in the end, the last part, which I really want to focus on, is about learning from other systems. So we have, as we are growing together, we should not be self-centric. There are many good things in other medicinal systems, which we should be able to pick it up and apply to make our system better. That means enriching from other people. Others' learning would be also useful. And one of the core things is like generating an entry-coated tablet. In Ayurveda, we never had that concept. For example, if you have to deliver a drug to the lower gut, for example, colon or large intestine, it becomes very difficult if you do orally, because it would be digested by the stomach or small intestine. Other ways is to giving basti, which is like a rectal delivery of the medicine. But sometimes that basti has a patient compliance issue too. It cannot be done by, easily, and then people have some other issues too. So then we thought in allopathic system, in the modern medicine, you have different technologies where you can coat the medicine that it will not be dissolved in the stomach. It will only be dissolved in the intestine, and that's what called entry-coated. So for the first time in Ayurvedic field, we have actually generated that formulation called Cologrit, which actually deliver the drugs right at the site of action in the larger intestine and in the colon. So that learning we got from the modern medical field, and we generated those one out. Similarly, we are now working on sustained release medicines. Sometimes the dose of the drug is very high, so people have to take it multiple times. We are trying to now generate those formulations that if you dose it once, it should be sufficient to take care of the dosing for the whole day. And that will, again, the learning we are getting from the modern medicinal pharmaceutical teams. And last, we are now moved very recently in this area called carbon quantum dots. That means you are making the particles much smaller than a nanoparticle. Nanoparticles are close to 200 nanometer in size. Quantum dots are 10 nanomolar or so, 10 nanometer further. It's like very small ones. That's the reason they are called dots. So we have been successful in generating carbon quantum dots of ashwagandha and trying to find that whether this has a better medicinal benefit than the ashwagandha per se. And I'm very happy to report, and Kunal would be talking to you regarding the same, maybe day after tomorrow, where he would show that those carbon quantum dot from ashwagandha has a better therapeutic use than ashwagandha per se. And that's a good finding that we have been moving it on. So all the work that we do, as we say in science, anything that you do, if it is not published, it is not complete. So the completion has to happen. And for last so many months, we have been publishing more than 75 research articles in peer-reviewed high-impact factor journal. Some of them has been seen our distinguished guests who are here. Total combined impact factor of the work is more than 370, and the average impact factor per publication is more than 4 all the time. So thank you very much, Team PRI. You have been very significantly contributing towards meeting this goal. So taking it together, thanks a lot. I appreciate the team sitting in here and all the dignitaries who has found their time to be here. And I'm sure we will take it forward. And so for all of you, thanks a lot. Now I have 2 points to say before I close and step down. We have a lot of students sitting here in the audience. Most of them are the practitioners of Ayurveda, who either they are doing BAMS or MD, that means bachelor's and postgraduate degree, and a lot of students from Patanjali University, and then PRI scientists as well. This opportunity today, tomorrow, and day after what we have, it's one of the rare ones, where now we are going to learn from the experts outside from our field. And that will open up our thought process, it will broaden our horizons, हमारे क्षितिज का विस्तार होगा और हम बहुत कुछ ऐसा सीखेंगे जो अब तक नहीं कर रहे थे. तो एक दूसरे से सीखने की जो क्षमता है वो आयुर्वेद में सबसे ज़्यादा है. तो हमें उसको बिल्डअप करना है और लर्न करके आगे बढ़ना है. So theme there is that we work together and try to get the best of the whole world. We learn from each other and we apply it very quickly too. So I hope these 3 days would be useful, beneficiary for all of you, and you will learn and enrich your knowledge and processes as we move along. You have been a fantastic audience. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, sir. It is indeed a matter of great pride to be a part of this esteemed organization. May I now invite onto the dais Dr. Vedpriya Aryaji, Head of the Herbal Research Division at Patanjali Research Institute. Dr. Aryaji will give us an overview of the extensive herbal research at Patanjali Research Institute.
Om, Namaste, Pranam. Param Pujya Swami Ji, Param Shraddha Acharya Shri, and all the distinguished scientists from around the globe, as well as Patanjali University students, Ayurveda College students, PRI colleagues, as well as more than 200 students who have came from North India University, from Banasthali University, from IG University, MDU, IIT Roorkee. I welcome all of you to this particular conference of 3 days, and आप सबको बहुत बहुत प्रणाम और नमस्कार. So I am going to start from World Herbal Encyclopedia. The World Herbal Encyclopedia, as have already mentioned by Adarnya Dr. Anurag ji, as well as you have also seen in the documentary, World Herbal Encyclopedia from contemplation to creation. So what does it mean? Means how the thinking is developed, how a thought is created, and what are the different, you can say, different achievements that are achieved with this particular project. I would like to share these details with you people. So first of all, my salutation to Pujya Swami Ji and Pujya Acharya Shri. And World Herbal Encyclopedia, it is a multi-voluminous compendium of more than 50,000 medicinal plants, and this is covered under 110 volumes, which covers among 110,000 pages, and we have published near about 71 volumes of World Herbal Encyclopedia in 2022, and rest of them are to be reached near about March or April 2023. So let's come or discuss with the quantitative data of the World Herbal Encyclopedia. It covers 50,000 medicinal plant species. It covers the ethnopharmacological or ethnomedicinal information of more than 2,000 tribes of globe. It also has the 30,000 canvas paintings which are handmade. This is the first time in the world these handmade canvas paintings are also in the pictorial form in this particular documentation. And we have a plant museum that I would like to convey further. And the 35,000 line drawings, as well as this whole information, it is supported with 6 lakhs bibliographic references. It covers 12 lakhs vernacular names, which is among 2,000 languages of the world. It means to say we are covering the medicinal plant information at the global level. We are covering the botany-based medicinal system all around the globe. I am proud to say I am a part of this enthusiastic team of World Herbal Encyclopedia, but this project takes around 15 years in its completion, and 900 plus scientists who are postdoctorates, PhD holders, postgraduates and so on, Ayurvedic scholars, botanists, taxonomists and microbiologists, they all are the part of this World Herbal Encyclopedia project. So I would like to convey some of the important things, like how did the journey starts? How we have started the World Herbal Encyclopedia project. I have already said in my title page, contemplation, like how the thought arises. The thought arises with the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It means Sari Duniya Ek Parivar, whole world is a family. Well, it's not in the case of the not only in the case of the human beings, but also in the case of plants. So plants are not belongs to any caste, they don't belong to any religion, they are not specified to a particular disease. They are for all. They have the unbiased medicinal uses for all medicinal system. Either it is practiced in the Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Japanese, Korean, etc. So the concept is the medicinal plants of all around the globe, they are medicinal, they are having the potency, they are having the characterization, they have the properties of healing, or the disease prevention is the ultimate aim. The concept arises with the answer for 3 major questions, like what are the total number of medicinal plants in the world and what are their medicinal uses. I'm sorry to say, a single documentation all around the globe is available, like what are the total medicinal plants around the globe. Even we have researched, not a single checklist is available. Second question is the plant taxonomic status clarification. Like if a plant, it is spoken as Acacia nilotica in India, it might be possible it is transferred to the Senegalia genus in Australia or some other countries. Next is the botany-based medicinal system in the world. Well, there is no proper documentation of botany-based medicinal system around the globe, and there is not a single compilation that all the medicinal information of particular plants, they are compiled under the single documentation. So we have some of the data for your reference. You can see this is the data from FAO, and we have found 52,000 medicinal plants are reported as medicinal around the globe, but there is no checklist. Only the medicinal plants number is given over here. Some other co-workers also suggested, like around the globe, 72,000 medicinal plants are reported as medicinal. But the list is just based on estimation. There is no complete documentation, or no list or checklist is not available. There is no resources, so we don't find that it's an authentic information. Then we search for the Royal Botanical Garden Kew, and we have found the first proper documentation, or you can say the checklist of useful medicinal plants of 28,000 medicinal plants around the globe. But again, this also shows that they uses 143 databases, just 143 databases, and they compile the information and they show to the world that like 28,000 medicinal plants are reported as medicinal around the globe. Then it comes to the medicinal plant name service, which is again a very important paradigms of Kew Botanical Garden. They have also suggested, by taking in account of 153 pharmaceutical or medicinal plants publication, and covers 27,000 medicinal plants are used medicinally around the globe. Well, in this, World Health Organization also comes. Well, in a ICDRA, International Conference of Drug Regulatory Authorities, which is held in Tokyo in 1986, World Health Organization is instructed to develop or to compile a list of medicinal plants. And they published 4 volumes and last 5 volumes, and they covers near about 117 monographs in the form of the complete information. And you can see, I have a screenshot of volume number 4, the preface. This shows that due to diversity of medicinal plants and herbal medicine, it is difficult for WHO to continue to develop more monographs on the commonly used medicinal plants. It means to say, from 1999 to 2010, World Health Organization also documented the medicinal plants, and just by 117 monographs, they closed this work without fully completion of this particular task. So what is the global status? That is summarized over here from the Q, from the FAO. There are still some of the questions which are unanswered. What are the total medicinal plants? How many medicinal systems in the world? Total number of synonyms? How many world languages the plants are spoken? Ayurvedic plant checklist, taxonomic status clarification, and especially very, very important, algae, fungi, bryophytes, pteridophytes, which are known as lower plants in the botany as well as in the plant sciences. There is no medicinal list for the lower plants, and these achievements are first time are documented in the World Herbal Encyclopedia. So, World Herbal Encyclopedia, which I have shared the details, I would like to share some of the more slides. Well, in six phylogenetic groups, more than 50,000 medicinal plants are arranged. This is algae, fungi, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and these genus and their respective species are enlisted over here. The Vedic taxonomy, as Dr. Anurag Varshney have said, it is an innovation in Ayurveda research. The Vedic taxonomy, it overpowers the binomial nomenclature of lineage, which is given in 1753. Because the lineage nomenclature, the plants are based on the friend's name, on the city name, on the place's name, or other signs like the anime name, etc. The plant doesn't signify the morphological and the medicinal properties of the plants. But the Vedic taxonomy, it is the first ever endeavor which is done in the guidance of Param Pujya Acharya Shri with the Sanskrit scholars team and the botanist and the taxonomist team. And the plants are based on the morphological characters as well as the medicinal properties of the plants which it contains. Then comes to the medicinal history of world. I would like to share some of the very important part, because medicinal history of world, this is the first time any organization, any you can say department or the team who documented the medicinal history of the world first time. You can see the traditional medicinal system. In the medicinal history, you can see there are 8,500 bibliographic resources that we have utilized to compile this information. There are 10 to 15 medicinal systems that we have identified which are based on the principle whose practices are well defined in the globe, as well as we have covered 962 healing practices which are followed around the globe. It also covers more than 1,300 diseases and 2,200 folk formulations which are practiced around the globe by different communities, by different medicinal systems which are based on the botany. Well, these traditional medicinal system, like you can see, the Ayurveda medicinal system, Chinese, Egyptian, Greece, homeopathy, Japanese, Korean, Siddha, Tibetan, as well as Unani, these all medicinal systems are studied in a great detail. You can see the Ayurveda medicinal system. We are very much familiar with the Panch Mahabhut theory, and we have also compiled the information from the Greece medicinal system, from the Egyptian medicinal system, from the Chinese medicinal system, from the Japanese medicinal system, Korean medicinal system, and we have derived that how the medicinal system around the globe is originated. I'm proud to say, with authentic documentation and the scientific validation, we have proven that the medicinal system, it is originated from the India, from the Maharishis, and the Indian medicinal system, it is the most authentic and most ancient system around the globe. Now this information, the medicinal system or the Indian medicinal system information, it is traveled to Egypt with the migration of the Puru lineage from India to Egypt. And not only that, we have the references, we have the scientific documentation by which we are going to share, we are going to show all of these information. We have collected, we have taken the data from the ancient medical treatises of the world, like the Shushrut Samhita, like the Charak Samhita, which is the ancient manuscripts for the Ayurvedic medicinal system. We have the Edwin Smith surgical papyrus, which is around 5,000-year-old documentation, which consists of 48 cases of surgery. We have compiled the information from ancient Egyptian medicine, which is around 3,500 years old system, and herbal formulation around 85 diseases have been incorporated from this particular domain. So it means to say we have covered these all in the 5 volumes of World Herbal Encyclopedia. The first volume comprises of the historical and philosophical prospects of traditional medicinal system of the world, then European continent, African continent, American, Middle Eastern, and Asian continent. We have compiled all the information of medicinal system in an unbiased way. Like Dr. Anurag said, we are the listeners also, we are the learners also. We are taking all the information with unbiased, in an unbiased manner. And this concept, this is the herbal world, which is very, very important. It is based on the medicinal history of the world, which is an elixir for the humanity. It is to be started in the Uttarakhand, and you can see all the countries with their miniatures, with their emblems, with their national flag. These are to be shared, these are to be represented in a very beautiful way in the herbal world. And this concept is the innovative one, and it is developed under the supervision and the guidance of Pujya Acharya Shri. Well, World Herbal Encyclopedia, it is not a documentation of just ancient manuscript information. It is the documentation of the pharmacological aspects also. My dear colleagues, you are very much familiar that pharmacological aspects of each and every plant, it is very, very important. Like we have to identify the evidence-based medicinal system, and evidence is generated through the pharmacological studies, through the clinical studies. We are very fortunate that we have combined the information of more than 50,000 medicinal plants, and these medicinal plants, pharmacological, in vitro, in vivo, clinical research, case studies, these are well documented with their scientific resources or the bibliographic resources in the World Herbal Encyclopedia. We have another very important World Botanical Dictionary in which the binomial nomenclature system as well as the epithets, 75,000 epithets, in which 25,000 genus epithets and 50,000 specific epithets, these are quoted. These are first time compiled in the form of the 5 volumes of World Botanical Dictionary, and we have the supervision from Acharya Shri and the lead from the Dr. Anupam Srivastavaji, who led the team in a very beautiful way, and this particular World Botanical Dictionary is also out in the market. We have the Patanjali Herbal Painting Museum. You can see different sliders, near about 30,000 plant paintings, which are handmade and which are made with the coordinated efforts of botany-based scientists, taxonomists, as well as the artists, which is very unique in nature. These are arranged in the sliders. We have the Patanjali Herbal Garden, in which more than 900 species of the plants are arranged. There are 5 artificial caves, which denotes the Ayurvedic principles as well as the medicinal system. We also are having the plant taxonomy and the flora preparation division, in which we are documenting, we are exploring the plants as well as preparing the flora. We have prepared the flora from the Morni Hills, from the Sijusha, Assam, from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and we are having several new records for this particular kind of task. We are also conserving the medicinal plants in the form of the herbarium. I am proud to say that this particular herbarium, it is accredited by the Index Herbarium, New York Botanical Garden, which is an achievement in the North India for the Patanjali. These are some of the samples of herbarium and the plant exploration, which is, the team is led by Pujya Acharya Shri, and all the scientists and the botanical taxonomists are over here. We have the preservation and republication of ancient manuscript division. You can see the manuscripts which are very old, near about 2 or 3rd century manuscripts are there, and these are wrapped in an orange cloth, which is our custom, which is our culture, and these are preserved. And I am proud to say these manuscripts are from the Tamrapatra, from the Bhojapatra, and near about 63 lakh pages of these ancient manuscripts, which are very delicate in nature. They are, digitalized by the team, and at present we have 63 lakh pages of manuscript in a digital manner. So moving forward, like we have the Bharwa Solution, our IT-based sister company, we are going forward. So as you know, the digital intervention or the technology, it also integrated. We have developed the World Herbal Encyclopedia e-portal, which is going to be launched in March or April, and it is having all the information, subscription-based medicinal plant information, and the e-commerce platform. You can see there are the checklist is also here, like you can check whatever information of a particular plant you want, and you can have that particular information with references, with the authentic scientific documentation. On the left hand side you can see the journal description, where whatever you want to see, you can see in a convenient manner. Then we have the different plans and the e-commerce platform by which you can directly purchase World Herbal Encyclopedia, all the details. This is the team of scientists who are working under the divine supervision of Pujya Swamiji Maharaj and Pujya Acharya Shri in a very integrated manner, day and night, and in a mission mode. I would like to thank all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Today on this auspicious occasion, we are honored to have the presence of Professor Dr. Anurag Srivastavji, a renowned name in the field. Srivastav is currently the Clinical Research Advisor at Patanjali Research Institute, Haridwar, and also the Director of Surgical Disciplines at NIMS Institute of Medical Sciences, Jaipur. He specializes in benign breast diseases and breast cancer. Now, with due respect, I will invite Professor Dr. Anurag Srivastavji to address the conference objectives and set the tone for the coming 3 days.
While they are setting up the slides, Om, Param Pujya Swamiji, Param Pujya Acharya Ji, honorable distinguished researchers and scientists from across the globe, the principal and the vice principal, the dean, vice chancellor of Patanjali University, sisters and brothers. Greetings from Patanjali Research Institute. I served as the chairman, Department of Surgery, All India Institute of Medical Sciences for nearly 30 years. And in my journey of practicing modern medicine, or allopathy as we call it, I appreciated that there are many success stories in modern medicine. We have conquered many infections like smallpox, like diphtheria, and so on, with the help of preventive medicine and vaccination, immunization program. But I realized that there are some areas where we were not so successful. For example, the field of cancer. In many patients with advanced cancer, we were failing in spite of big operations, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. They were still having recurrence and dying after 2 to 3 years. Then there were cases of several infections like drug-resistant tuberculosis. There is no cure for drug-resistant tuberculosis. And there were many bacterial infections where patients are still dying due to septicemia and multiple organ failure. And then came the eye-opening pandemic of corona. With all the knowledge of modern science, epidemiology, and public health, we were not able to control the menace of corona. अगर modern medicine और science और public health और epidemiology का ज्ञान परिपक्व होता, mature होता, perfect होता, तो कोरोना का महामारी पूरे विश्व में नहीं फैलता. So that was really an eye-opener for me. And you know the story, the Queen of Spain died, Prime Minister of Canada and England contracted corona. If the epidemiology and public health was perfect, at least the prime ministers and the queens and kings would have been protected. So with all this insight and introspection, I came to Patanjali Institute in the month of June last year and made a humble appeal and request to Honorable Swami ji and Honorable Acharya ji that let us now sit together and integrate the wisdom of ancient sages who have developed this science of Ayurveda, yoga, meditation and pranayam with that of modern medicine. So this was the beginning of integration or developing holistic approach to mankind, holistic approach to health. So we had brainstorming, we gathered a team of experts in the field of modern medicine from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, from Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, National Institute of Cancer Prevention and Research, Tata Memorial Center, Banaras Hindu University, and so on. And they had 2 brainstorming sessions, very fruitful one, where we have almost crystallized our thought process that these are the thrust areas where we are going to develop joint collaborative effort for improving the quality and quantity of life and mankind. So that's the beginning of this session that you are attending, the 3rd in the series. What is ethnomedicine? So I have taken the definition given by the experts. Kripper and Staples have defined ethnomedicine and ethnopharmacology as a branch of medicine where traditional medical practice is concerned with the cultural interpretation of health and illness that addresses the healthcare process and healing practices. So that's the definition. And in the next 3 days, we'll be defining the conference objectives as follows. Living life in synchrony or in harmony with nature is the essence of ethnopharmacology or ethnomedicine. Today, the human life and the humanity is facing an ever-increasing menace and the burden of various health-related challenges. Ethnomedicine is perhaps the only hope for human race to get rid of all these health-related issues. A helpless situation indeed. Scientists and clinicians from across the globe ought to come together on a common platform to discuss the way forward to charter a roadmap for infusing the core principles of human life, namely the health, the respect, peace, and love, for a fruitful, happy, healthy society. the third in the series in this discussions, deliberations by experts, plants to patients. We have this international conference with the aim of enhancing our understanding of classical medicine from different parts of the globe through rethinking ethnopharmacology, and that's the theme of next 3 days of meeting. We set the tone for the next 3 days with the 3 theme areas: the fundamental essence of different systems of ethnomedicine, the preclinical validation of ethnomedicine, and thirdly, the modern clinical and quality outlook for the ancient ethnomedical practices. We have chosen 3 thrust areas: the cancer, the lifestyle disorders, and the communicable disorders. We'll be talking both for the prevention as well as in therapy of these diseases. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you very much, sir. With this, we are all set to begin the theme 1 of this conference, Fundamental Essence of Different Systems of Ethnomedicines, the Way of Our Ancestors. Now, before I invite our first speaker of this session, with due respect, I would like to, we have a mini bell, so if you hear a very familiar bell sound, it's just a heads up that we will be running out of time. So without further ado, may I now invite onto the dais Professor Jacobus N. Elof for his talk, An Interaction Between Indigenous Knowledge, Science, and Technology is Required to Commercialize Promising Compounds and Extracts. Professor Elof is the founder of Interdisciplinary Phytomedicine Program, Faculty of Veterinary Science, University of Pretoria, South Africa, with concentrations on using plants selected by focus screening and ethnoveterinary knowledge to treat infections and infestations by microorganisms and parasites on production animals. Dr. Elof has also led the project on African herbal pharmacopoeia. He is the recipient of many awards and accolades, including the prestigious SFE Outstanding International Ethnopharmacologist Award 2019 from the Indian chapter of the International Society of Ethnopharmacology. It is a privilege to have you here, sir. Let's all give him a warm welcome.
That this means that different things come together. So we have different things coming together. We have traditional systems that are used in some countries, in some continents. We have scientific knowledge. We have people from different areas coming together. And what I'm going to talk to you about is give you a little bit background of what's happening in Africa. The problem in Africa is that there's been very little written information. Southern Africa has got 10% of the world's plant species, and what I'm going to talk to now to you about is how the work that we've done seemed very promising. I'm going to describe an example of the interaction between knowledge, science, and innovation has led to a wonderful product. I'm going to look at our current situation in South Africa from a good laboratory doing good research. I'm going to list potential, I'll also show the negative and positive aspects, identify the challenges, list some work that we've done, and then I'll make proposals on how we should address the challenges. I think this will fit in thinking differently about ethnopharmacology. So this is probably the most wonderful example that one can get. If we look at ancient times in Greece and in India, many ancient cultures, including ancient Greeks and ancient India, already used molds and other plants to treat infections. And then what happened by serendipity, in England, Fleming discovered the effect of certain microorganisms on bacteria. But then what would have happened, that could have been a publication, would have just stopped there. Then in 1938, and remember this was the time when the World War started, when infections were extremely important to keep and they had to be treated to keep the soldiers healthy. They organized a big plan to commercialize, to grow large quantities. And then another guy, Moyer and Cargill, they developed methods for growing the penicillium in large cultures. And then later, acid-resistant form was developed. And then finally, in 1952, Austria developed the first acid-stable penicillin. So at the bottom, you see the structure of penicillin, and on the right hand, you see 3 people that received the Nobel Prize. If we look at the situation currently, about 25% of prescription medicine in the United States still comes from plants. Generally, for acute diseases, pharmaceuticals are usually good. There may be side effects, and there are definitely resistance development, especially in antimicrobials. There is a problem, though. In the United States, if someone discovered today aspirin, it would never become a commercial product in the United States because people are so scared that they will be penalized tremendously if there's a side effect for a stomach ulcer. But I think one can state with relative clarity that for maintaining health, herbals are probably better. There's a very strong growth in use of herbal medicines. In the United States, they use a GRAS, generally regarded as safe criteria. It is very difficult to start a new compound and develop a herbal medicine from a new compound from Africa if it's not been used for a long time, because to be accredited and to be used in Europe and in the United States, they want written information. And in Africa, the same thing happened in South America, and the same thing happened in Australia. There were very little written information. Everything was transferred orally. Yet we do know, if we look at the paintings of the Bushmen, the Sun people, paintings of 5,000 years ago, you can see, you can identify the plants that they used, aloes and arpacophyton they used. So if we develop medicinal plants, it can be of tremendous value to rural people, not only in developing new medicinal products, but also, as I show you a little while later, by thinking differently, there's another possibility. So, if the main aim of working on phytomedicinals is not to develop a new compound, but rather to increase the quality of life of people, then I think one can think a little bit differently. Many, many years in the university in South Africa work on medicinal plants, but there have been very few compounds isolated that have been commercialized. The National Research Foundation in South Africa had a very, very strong funding for medicinal plant research, but this was stopped about 5 years ago because the wonderful promise that was promised, everybody thought that if you put in enough money, you can make a lot of new medicines from that. So in generally, there's a poor product availability, but there was very good human capacity development. I mean, our own group delivered 52 PhD students in the past few years. So we are very poor in product availability, good in human capacity development. And I'm going to show you some of the lessons we learned. The first one is, at one stage, there was not enough grapeseed in South Africa. Now, grapeseed is widely used as a fantastic antioxidant compound that stimulates the immune system. And there's a big company that provides a lot of stuff. So we developed a method to start with grapeseed, and it had double the activity of Prosidin. Prosidin, you had to take 2 tablets per day. So we developed this process. We went through everything to do the industrial development, safety tests, everything, the whole lot. And then we had an agreement. It was patented. Merck, the big international pharmaceutical society, decided to produce and to market the product. And then they had a big marketing exercise, but there was one slight mistake. The marketing started before they had the medicines available in pharmacies. And then after the first quarter, the marketing manager had a look at it and said they sold hardly anything. So it turned out to be a very big flop, and they cancelled the agreement just like that. On the other hand, something that was very simple. We, in looking at a large number of different compounds, not focusing only on traditionally used plants, we found that one plant, Terminalia, other Terminalias occur in India as well, had excellent antimicrobial activity. We did animal studies and we found that infected mice did much better on gentamicin much better on infection of and curing of wounds than gentamicin did. We published the results and just about forgot it. Then the student who did the PhD work, he was a pharmacist. He worked on the formulation, and he had about 4 pharmacies, and he said, I sell so much gentamicin, I can sell a lot of this as well. So this little product there, phytobiotic, it's extremely simple. You take the leaves of Terminalia sericea, you add acid, you dry it, you grind it, you add acetone to that, and then you take the acetone out by evaporating it, and then he developed the formulation. So he's got this nice product, and he's making a bit of money with that, with very little technology added to that. So what do we need, and what is possibility to discover or to investigate a new way of thinking about medicinal plants or ethnopharmacology? The focus to date has been mainly on using plants for human health. There are many, many possibilities in agriculture, in animal health, fruit production, food safety, also in plant production, protection against microorganisms, insects, nematodes, and developing of new crops. There are also other commercial uses, cosmetics, flavors, spices, beverage foods, and nutraceuticals. We're not very interested in this last aspect because we do not think that that will necessarily increase the quality of life of poor farmers. So we said, we will forget about the magic bullet and make fortunes. We were convinced that funders would more reasonable to focus on delivering products to benefit poor people via agriculture. And we would also focus on extracts, isolate active compounds where we can, and use low-level technology. We had some success in this, but not real commercialization there. The problem is that there's very little commercialization and many little information and knowledge about the commercialization by academic personnel. We should rather start collaborating with the industry. But the problem is that once a PhD student has passed his degree, then he leaves, he goes back to Africa or to Europe or to where most of our people come from far away. So we decided the possibility would be to look at extracts with good activity and increase the activity with it with a very simple process of solvent-solvent fractionation. And this is results that we obtained for one of these extracts that has been potentitis from invasive plant Melianthus squamosus. And in this graph that you see here, we had a look at the activity of this extract on Fusarium and on Penicillium. And the higher the value is, the better is the activity. So we compared the activity of these two extracts on a number of commercially used antifungals. And it looked very promising. We did isolate the compound. It was found to be oleanolic acid. But then the question is, can it work in the field as well? It was important that there was no toxicity on earthworms when we tested the extract. And a company came to us, they were growing Symphytium officinale, and we sprayed it with 0.2 milligram per milliliter, and also then with Bravo, a chloranthanol at 1.2 milligram per day. And there you see the pictures of what happened. On the right hand at the bottom, there was very, very big infection. With Bravo, the 250 leaves were infected. And with our extract, only 50 leaves were infected. So it's clear that this is a product that can be commercialized. We are also very interested in working on ticks. Ticks is a very big problem in South Africa, with our South African farmers. And the first we collected, we had a look, one of our students came from Ethiopia. He investigated the plants that were used to treat camels against ticks. And then in our laboratory, we had a look at the way in which the ticks were attracted by the extracts or repelled by the extracts. The idea is that if you make an extract and you spray it on the camel's back, then the ticks will not come there. The interesting that came from this is that one of these extract from Calpurnia aurea, attracted ticks, but was also toxic to the ticks. So that looked very promising. Then, but never developed a bit further. Then something else that was interesting, extract from Loxostylus alata, the acetone extract from a tree. When we investigated a large number of trees, we found that this one had very good activity. And Cryptococcus, against Cryptococcus. And Cryptococcus is a very important poultry pathogen. So we did some work. We infected the poultry with Cryptococcus, and then we treated it with with tetraconazole, the one second from the bottom on the right. That's a valued, and our highest concentration, 200 milligrams per milliliter, there was no significant difference, and there was a very nice dose-related effect there. So it's clear that it seems to work, and the pathologists went a bit further. They also had a look at the lung tissue, and they look at the concentration. The neutral had nothing, and our products had again a beautiful dose-related effect. So something as simple as an acetone extract from Loxostylus can be used to treat cryptococcosis in poultry. Other areas we investigated by looking at blowflies. We looked at controlling ticks by using pheromones, and in that case we could attract ticks from a distance of 9 meters, and we mixed the pheromones with entomopathogenic fungus that would kill the ticks. We did a lot of work on helminths in sheep. We found a new compound, Blikimol from Sneezewood leaves, that had good antifungal, antiparasitic activity and had no toxicity to elements. This was patented in USA and in Europe, and workers still continue that. Now the challenge for further development. I think we need a multidisciplinary approach, which your fantastic institute is certainly following. Especially if we focus on helping poor people. Very wide collaboration is required. It doesn't help to have an ivory tower approach. You need funding for research, but the people that do the research should also be problem-solving driven. We need funding for commercialization. And my feeling is that because the success in the herbal industry is more based on marketing than on real activity. There are other difficulties in the legislation, the Goya Protocol. If you really start with traditional use, and then it becomes very complicated to use a product, because you have to in some way decide who the commercial people, who the indigenous people was who first discovered this. That led us to follow another system. We do extremely wide screening. We only look at leaves, we only look at trees, and we found a lot of wonderful, wonderful things there. So what do we need? We need an integration between different role players. They will be limited. So if we look at our country and the continent, we want to use the plant diversity to raise the quality of life of people. If we look at the owners of traditional knowledge, they want to get some recognition and reward for their knowledge. If you look at scientists, they want to advance their career, get publication, deliver PhD and MSc students. If you look at the industry, they want to make money direct or indirect. The government, they want to raise the quality of life of people. International funders, they want to keep the sponsors happy. So we need a way in which we can do all of those. And I think this is a possibility. If the traditional knowledge can lead what you are doing here to apply the new knowledge, and then what we must do there, we live in Africa, we don't have all the smart apparatus they have here. We must try to use low technology and get an application that would increase the quality of life. And for that, we will need funding. So in the middle of everything, scientific investigation, the bottom left-hand side, there can also be independent results by widely screening plants for activity. So the major gap in getting scientists to focus on problems of rural communities and getting useful information back. So we need a multidisciplinary approach. And maybe that's something that your institute can also look at. So somewhere it's stated that agriculture also plays a role. Maybe in rethinking ethnopharmacology, one should not only focus on human medicine, one should also focus, I think, on plants that can have an influence on the quality of life and especially of farmers. So to summarize, Africa with its 80,000 plant species has a tremendous wealth of traditional knowledge, but it's never been written down. Excellent academic research been done, but there's been very little product delivery. The focus should change from magic bullet to valuable extract. The funding must promote integration between participants and especially poor people and scientists and the government partners involved. There are many products already identified with strong commercial potential, and the support of science-industry collaboration, I think, is very important. There are many challenges in using traditional knowledge, science and innovation to get the green gold of Africa on the market and to benefit all of Africa. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here. To me, this was an amazing opportunity. The welcome we received at the gate when I came onto this tremendous auditorium, I was really a bit frightened on talking to you. But thank you very much for the very friendly reception we received from everybody. This was an experience I will never forget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for such an informative talk. Among the audience, I request if anybody wants to discuss anything related to this topic or ask anything to sir, please, you can carry on.
Hello, sir. Professor Love, I have a query for you. Sir, he's just walking. Yeah. Sir, this was a fantastic presentation. Sir, it was a fantastic presentation, and we learned a lot about the type of ethnomedicines we have from Africa and how they can be applied from human to animal, from infectious disease to metabolic disease. Very good data. We are really impressed and privileged to have you here. My one query is that, sir, what kind of challenges you face when you take from some finding from laboratory and if you have to take it all the way towards industrial output? For example, you showed a couple of creams which are based on plant-based antibiotic like phytobiotic, which is very nice. But what were the challenges you faced to take it further? What kind of entry barrier you faced in the field where you already have established players? And when you come with the herbal medicine, what you felt and how do you challenge that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We also did a bit of work on anti-diabetic work. It's complicated. We found some very, very interesting results when we looked at the antifungal activity and we compared it with, because one compound is known to have activity against fungi and against parasites. And then I thought of maybe presenting those results here today. So we found there was a very good correlation coefficient if you remove 1 or 2 outliers of 0.8 between the antifungal activity against certain fungi and the effect against sheep parasites. So our whole approach is we decided we use the best extractant that we've got, which is acetone. It's very easy to use. It's less toxic than ethanol to humans, much less toxic. It's not toxic to the microorganisms, so the extract is fantastic. We decided we will only work on trees, and we will only look at trees, the leaves of trees. The reason I was director of the National Botanic Gardens with 8 botanic gardens throughout the country, and these botanic gardens are very good. They plant trees, a lot of trees. They know exactly where the trees come from. All the data sit there. So we had a lot of work that we did on, I think it was 503 different tree species that we could collect from different places. We had a look at the activity against 5 bacteria, including Mycobacterium, and 3 different fungi as well. So from that database, we started to select, looking at things. And I think that there is a tremendous opportunity of doing wide screening. That is how the National Cancer Institute worked. And if your approach is not to only staying with Ayurveda or what other systems, because in South Africa and in Australia and in South America, because there's very little information. If you look how few plants have been commercialized from South Africa or from Australia or from South America. You're very fortunate that you have this wonderful traditional knowledge that has been written down in a sacred language. So you can work on all of that thing, but remember, there are also big problems that the people at that time had. If we go and we ask the people, and we want to get something that would work against, let's say, cancer or work, then I'm not sure if you can always trust the results, because it takes a long time for cancer to develop and a long time for cancer to be completed. But let's say you ask him, what plant can you use to stop the pain if you have toothache or earache? If you ask them that and they say this plant, you can be very sure it works. So the problem is with our ancient cultures, very important. And I mean, even when the white people came to South Africa, they always brought all their plants from Europe with them, and they kept on using because that was all that was available. Right. So, and just another thing, fine, let me put this question, just make this statement. I think traditional healers have the wonderful opportunity of doing clinical experiments.
Of course.
If they kill a few people along the way, then they learn. We can't do it these ways, so that is why it's very important to use our traditional leads where we can. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much, sir. It was very insightful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir. If we do not have further questions, we move on to our next speaker. May I now invite Professor Sunil Kumar Joshi ji to the dais for his talk on Ayurveda and its role for disease-free society. Professor Joshi ji is the Vice Chancellor, is a very well-known specialist in the field of Ayurveda. He has a long rewarding career in Ayurvedic science of over 36 years of experience in state service. Dr. Joshi is the recipient of many national and international awards, including the prestigious ISTAM Award, Indian Association for Study of Traditional Asian Medicine. It is a matter of great pride to have you here, sir. Let's all welcome him.
परम श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी, आदरणीय आचार्य जी और उपस्थित सभी हमारे अतिथिगण और प्यारे छात्र छात्राओं, it's my privilege to attend this August gathering, and today's topic is, my topic is Ayurveda and its role for the disease-free society with plants to patients. How Ayurveda works, just we can say that there are some basic principles of Ayurveda by which this science works. It is Tridosh, Agni, Nadi Pariksha, Shatkriya Kal, Panch Mahabhut, and Ahar Vihar. It is only for just we can say the overview of the all basic principles of Ayurveda by which we are working with the Ayurvedic sciences. And just we can say that the basic things, all things are made up of the 5 Panch Mahabhutas, and the major areas of the research in the Ayurveda, what we are doing today, उसमें किस चीज़ पे हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं basically, just it is the herbal medicine basically, and a lot of work is going on in different part of the world, and in India, and especially in the Patanjali and Uttarakhand, a lot of work is going on herbal medicines, and we are also doing work on Panchakarma, neurotherapy, neuropathy, yoga, and some herbal mineral preparations. The focus is on these fields, and with the help of these things, just we can say that just we can make our society disease-free. The role of Ayurveda in the prevention of the disease, as we know that the Ayurveda having 2 aims, Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam, and second one is the Aturasya Vikara Prashanam cha, means to maintain the health of the healthy individual as well as the means to cure the disease in the diseased person. Aspect of the social health, it is the preventive health, curative health, and the promotive health. And just we have to follow for this thing, the Sadvrit is very important. The personal, social, psychological, emotional, and the religious and occupational conduct should be very much in the proper way. It is known as the Sadvrit in Ayurveda. The role of Ayurveda, what is the role of the Ayurveda to treat the diseases? Ayurveda treats the whole body as a unit. It is not like that, just we can divide the whole body into systems and into different organs and different parts. जैसा कि हम लोग आजकल देखते हैं कि नेफ्रोलॉजी अलग होती है, यूरोलॉजी अलग होती है, हर डिपार्टमेंट अलग है, but in this case, just when we are treating a person with the Ayurvedic principles, just we have to Ayurveda treats the body as a whole, not in a part. It helps, Ayurveda helps you understand the dosas, physical, mental, and the emotional state. Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, there are 3 main doshas, and it is known as the Sharirik dosh, mental, and the emotional state we have to also assess for the treatment of any person. Ayurveda cures the root problem. निदान का परिवर्जन हुए बिना हम लोग ट्रीटमेंट नहीं करते, जब तक आप निदान उसका कारण को दूर नहीं करते, उसके मूल कारण को दूर नहीं करते, तब तक आयुर्वेद से चिकित्सा नहीं हो सकती. Just we are not treating the symptoms, but we are curing the disease. And it is a time-tested Ayurvedic techniques of the accurate diagnosis. नाड़ी, मूत्रम, मलम, जिह्वा, शब्द, स्पर्श, दीर्घाकृति. और इसके साथ साथ त्रिविध परीक्षा, पंचविध परीक्षा, अष्टविध परीक्षा, 10विध परीक्षा, ये सारी की सारी चीजें अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण होती हैं. They are very important to make the proper diagnosis of a patient. Ayurveda for the mild as well as the chronic diseases, it is it is very important for the all chronic ailments as well as the acute diseases, and Ayurveda treatment is very low. You can say that it is very much cost effective. So Ayurveda has no side effect or very less side effects, or if you are not using the proper dose or you are not following the proper protocol, then there will be some side effect, or we can say in most of the cases just we are getting the side benefit of the all medical Ayurvedic procedures and the medicines. The role of Ayurveda, what is the role of the Ayurveda in the promotion of the health? How we can promote the health with the Ayurvedic procedures? First of all, just we have to follow the Dincharya, means the daily routine, how, when we have to sleep, when we have to eat, how to eat. It is all comes under the heading of the Dincharya. And the second one is the seasonal regime. It is very important. And the third one is the sleep. जब तक हम लोग ठीक से सोते नहीं हैं, ठीक से जागते नहीं हैं, और कितने घंटे सोना है, कैसे सोना है, जब तक हम इसको ध्यान नहीं रखते, तो most of the time the sleep is very important regarding the psychological disorders as well as the psychosomatic disorders. तो उसका भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. And the food is very important regarding the promotion of the health. Sadhvrit, just we have discussed earlier, yoga and dhyan and all meditation and the yogic postures, they are very important, as we know that there are two ways of healing. As first of all, the pharmacopoeial way of healing, and the second one is non-pharmacopoeial way of healing. The first, the pharmacopoeial way of healing. In this condition, just we are using a lot of medicines, herbal mineral preparations, herbs, and many more things. But in case of the non-pharmacopoeial way of healing, just we can use the yogic postures, asanas, pranayam, meditation, and the marma therapy. As we know that marma therapy is known as the non-pharmacopoeial way of healing. Just we know that the Ayurveda is known as the Ashtanga Ayurveda. And there is no chance for the further research. It is not like that. Just we can say that the marma science and the marma therapy is the 9th branch of the Ayurveda, and it is the recent branch of the Ayurveda. With the help of this marma science and marma therapy, just we can achieve the we can promote the health as well as we can cure a lot of diseases. And herbal medicines, Uttarakhand is known as a treasure, house of medicines and the, most of the aromatic plants. There are at least 30 medicinal plants are documented in Uttarakhand. Medicinal plants of Uttarakhand for active trait, 30 से ज़्यादा जड़ी बूटियां जो हैं, जो सिर्फ और सिर्फ उत्तराखंड से पूरे देश भर में, पूरे विश्व में जाती हैं, ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. About 10 species are categorized as the threatened species, including the thuner, Texas bacata, ये जम्बू, और भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. अतीस है, कूट है, कुटकी है, करंज है, कपी कच्छू है, बहुत सारी जो चीजें हैं जो हमारे यहाँ होती हैं. And India has the around 3.2% of the world market share of the herbal medicine. But still we have to go ahead with the promotion of this kind of activities on each and every level. इथनो मेडिसिन के विषय में आप पूरे दिन भर सुनेंगे, कल 3 दिन तक सुनेंगे. इसमें हम लोगों को ज़्यादा कहने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Just we have to see the drug therapy, treatment and drugless therapy, just I have discussed earlier. And role of ethnomedicine in the rural healthcare, especially in Uttarakhand. हम क्या कर सकते हैं इसके माध्यम से? 80% of the rural population of the India rely on the traditional medicine, and they are very much aware of the medicinal effect of these herbs. And 40% rural population of the Western countries rely on the traditional medicine. ये जानकर आश्चर्य होगा जब हम एलोपैथी की बात करते हैं और ये मानते हैं कि पूरे विश्व में एलोपैथी एक प्रतिष्ठित चिकित्सा पद्धति के रूप में विद्यमान है. लेकिन जब हम छोटे छोटे हिस्सों में पूरे विश्व को देखते हैं या और दूसरे ढंग से देखते हैं, तो लगता है कि 40% जो पॉपुलेशन है, स्टिल दे आर यूजिंग सम ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन ऑफ देयर ओन कंट्रीज. 80% पॉपुलेशन ऑफ द डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज आर यूजिंग ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन फॉर देयर प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर. तो व्हाट आर द सोर्सेज? तो जो जड़ी बूटियों के सोर्सेज हैं वो हम जानते हैं कि दे आर फ्रॉम द प्लांट्स. ऑल हर्बल मिनरल प्रिपरेशंस जो होती हैं आयुर्वेदिक होती हैं, ये प्लांट ओरिजिन्स के हो सकती हैं. दे आर फ्रॉम द एनिमल ओरिजिन, they can come from the algae or the fungi, microbes हो सकते हैं, and they come from the minerals. तो इस ढंग से ये सारी की सारी आयुर्वेदिक मेडिसिन्स जो हम लोग इस्तेमाल करते हैं वो डिफरेंट सोर्सेज से हम लोगों को मिलती हैं. और उत्तराखंड में तो हम लोग जानते हैं कि ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और पूरा उत्तराखंड ये कहा जाता है कि ये आयुर्वेद की उद्गम स्थली है। चाहे वो कनखल का स्थान हो जहाँ दक्ष का अनुसंधान किया गया हो, प्लास्टिक सर्जरी की गई हो, या दक्ष के अपमान से ज्वर की उत्पत्ति हुई हो, वो दोनों महत्वपूर्ण है। और तीसरी चीज जो चरक डांडा एक जगह है कोटद्वार से लगभग 30 किलोमीटर दूर, जिसको हम लोग महर्षि चरक की तपस्थली भी कहते हैं। जस्ट वी कैन सी दैट इट इज द सोर्स ऑफ द ऑल हर्ब्स, पूरा हिमालय, पूरा जो हमारी गंगा का क्षेत्र है, एंड रोल ऑफ द ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन प्लांट इन डिफरेंट एरियाज। हल्दी को यूज करते हैं, मंडूक पौनी को यूज करते हैं, बहुत सारी जो हमारी दवाइयाँ हैं, एलोवेरा है, और ये सारी दवाइयाँ हम लोग यूज करते हैं। इन ड्यूरिंग द कोविड पीरियड जस्ट यू हैव सीन द एफिकेसी of these medicines, and you have seen the scope of Ayurveda as well as you have seen the limitations of allopathic science. तो आप महसूस कीजिए कि कितना बढ़िया ये काम हुआ है। और जब भी हम मेडिकल साइंस का इतिहास देखेंगे तो हम लोग महसूस करेंगे कि प्री कोविड और पोस्ट कोविड एक इतिहास लिखा जाएगा, और उसको मैं इस ढंग से भी कहता हूँ प्री कोरोनिल और पोस्ट कोरोनिल इतिहास भी होगा। जो हमारा हिस्ट्री होगी मेडिकल साइंस की, वो इस ढंग से लिखी जाएगी। और जब भी हम लोगों ने देखा कि कैसे कोविड में पूरी की पूरी दुनिया आयुर्वेद के सहारे पूरी की पूरी वैतरणी को पार कर गई, और जबकि पूरी और जो लोग जिन्होंने इसको रिलाय नहीं किया उनका कितना ज्यादा नुकसान हुआ, इसको हम लोग आसानी से जानते हैं। एंड दीज मेडिसिन्स आर वेरी मच इफेक्टिव। ये छोटी चीजें जिन्होंने हमारी कोरोना में सबसे ज्यादा मदद की, जो हमारे घर में उपलब्ध थी, जो स्पाइसेस के तौर पे हमारे किचन में थी, जो दादी नानी के नुस्खों में हमारे पास थी, उन्होंने हमारी रक्षा की। उसमें तुलसी है, अदरक है, काली मिर्च है, लौंग है, इलायची है, और दालचीनी, और ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें, मुलेठी और गिलोय और अश्वगंधा जैसी चीजों ने हमारी इम्यूनिटी को बढ़ाया और हमारी रक्षा की। और आज समझ सकते हैं कि आप कितनी सारी बीमारियां जो इन हर्ब्स के सहारे होती हैं, ठीक होती हैं। और आज पूरे विश्व को विश्वास है कि निश्चित रूप से सारी की सारी बीमारियां जितनी भी, चाहे लाइफस्टाइल डिसऑर्डर से होती हैं, चाहे कम्युनिकेबल और नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीजेज हैं, वो सब की सब आयुर्वेद के माध्यम से ठीक हो सकती हैं। तो रोल ऑफ ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन में वही चीजें हम दिखा रहे हैं कि दीज आर द इम्पोर्टेंट मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स विच वी हैव यूज्ड ड्यूरिंग द कोरोना पीरियड। आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि कोरोना में सिर्फ कोरोना का ही इलाज हो रहा था, और हम लोग टेलीमेडिसिन के माध्यम से ऐसे हजारों रोगियों को जड़ी बूटियों की बात बताते थे। किसी के पैर में दर्द है, कमर में दर्द है, हड्डी टूट गई है, कहीं पे कुछ हो गया, बिकॉज ही वॉज नॉट गेटिंग एनी मेडिकल सपोर्ट फ्रॉम एनी मेडिकल इंस्टीट्यूशन और द हॉस्पिटल। तो सारी की सारी प्रक्रिया घर पे हो रही थी, और उसमें कैसे तेल बनाना है, कैसे दवाई लगानी है, कैसे उसमें बैंडेज करनी है, कौन सा मर्म दबाना है, कौन सा आसन करना है, कौन सी जड़ी बूटी खानी है, दूध के साथ, हल्दी के साथ दूध पीना है तो कितनी बार पीना है। ऐसा नहीं है कि हल्दी के साथ आपने चोट लगी और एक बार हल्दी के साथ दूध के साथ हल्दी पी ली तो ठीक हो जाएगा। जस्ट यू हैव टू गिव इन ए रिपीटेड डोजेस फॉर ए प्रॉपर टाइम एंड पीरियड। 3 दिन, 5 दिन, 7 दिन, 10 दिन आप खाएंगे तभी जाके फायदा होगा। इफ यू आर टेकिंग एंटीबैक्टीरियल मेडिसिन और एनाल्जेसिक मेडिसिन for 3 to 5 days, at least you have to take the haldi powder at least for 3 to 5 days. ये नहीं कि आप सोचें कि आयुर्वेद की दवाई है, हल्दी है तो वो तो एक खुराक में ठीक कर दे, और एंटीबायोटिक भले ही आप 5 दिन आपको खानी पड़े, या पेन किलर या एंटी इन्फ्लामेटरी मेडिसिन आपको 5 दिन खानी पड़े, वो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। यू हैव टू सी, यू हैव टू नो द प्रॉपर डोज, और कब लेनी है, कितनी मात्रा में लेनी है, कैसे लेनी है, हाउ टू टेक दिस मेडिसिन। अब जैसे कि हम लोग जानते हैं कि whenever we have to take the medicine, और जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं काली मिर्च का इस्तेमाल जब हम लोग खांसी के लिए करते हैं, तो देन वी आर टेकिंग दिस मेडिसिन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ द डिकॉक्शन। उबाल कर लेते हैं, चूर्ण को पाउडर करके लेते हैं, गर्म पानी से लेते हैं। बट व्हेन वी हैव टू टेक दिस मेडिसिन फॉर द ब्रेन, देन वी आर यूजिंग द क्षीर पाक, और जस्ट वी हैव टू टेक दिस मेडिसिन और एनी मेडिसिन विद द फैट कंपोनेंट लाइक द घी और एनी अदर थिंग। क्यों? क्योंकि हम जानते हैं कि जो भी दवाई ब्लड ब्रेन बैरियर को क्रॉस करती है वो लिपिड सॉल्युबल होनी चाहिए। तो इट वाज रिटन इन आवर टेक्स्ट। तो ईच एंड एवरी मेडिसिन शुड बी गिवन इन डिफरेंट मैनर, डिफरेंट वे, डिफरेंट डोजेज, एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू एज, अकॉर्डिंग टू डिजीज, अकॉर्डिंग टू द नेचर ऑफ द पेशेंट। तो ये सारी चीजों का ध्यान रखकर जब हम लोग करते हैं तभी आयुर्वेद की दवाइयाँ फायदा करती हैं। और इसके लिए एक आयुर्वेदिक चिकित्सक को बहुत सजग रहना पड़ता है. एंड जस्ट यू कैन सी these are very important herbs. And now just we are concentrating about the drugless therapies. You have seen a lot of procedures are discussed in Sushruta Samhita, which are known as 60 surgical procedures, जिसको हम षष्ठी उपक्रम के नाम से लेते हैं. महर्षि सुश्रुत ने कहा है कि छेदन, भेदन, लेखन, ऐषण, आहरण, विश्रावण, सीवन, जब तक ये सिर्फ प्रोसीजर के तौर पे किए जाते हैं तो भी ये भी ड्रगलेस हैं, क्योंकि बिकॉज वी आर नॉट यूजिंग एनी मेडिसिन एंड जस्ट वी आर यूजिंग दीज प्रोसीजर्स. एंड जो सिस्टमिक यूज में या लोकल मेडिकामेंट के तौर पे जस्ट वी आर नॉट यूजिंग एनी मेडिसिन. बट वेन एवर वी आर यूजिंग these procedures along with the medications, they don't come under the heading of the drugless therapies. The pure drugless therapies are कौन कौन सी चीजें हैं जो बिना drugless therapy के इस्तेमाल की जाती हैं? They are yoga and the meditation. आज अभी पूज्य स्वामी जी ने आप लोगों को दिखाया कि कितने अच्छे ढंग से कैंसर से लेके बहुत सारे रोगियों को उपचार किया गया. और कई लोग तो ऐसे थे जिनको सिर्फ प्राणायाम के माध्यम से और आसन और प्राणायाम के माध्यम से उन्होंने रोग से मुक्ति पाई. तो ये अपने में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. एंड इट इज द इम्पोर्टेंट वे ऑफ हीलिंग विदाउट एनी ड्रग व्हेन वी आर नॉट यूजिंग एनी ड्रग. सेकेंड वन इज द अग्नि कर्म और द कॉटराइजेशन, थर्मल कॉटराइजेशन, लीज थेरेपी, मड थेरेपी और नेचुरोथेरेपी. जितनी भी हमारी प्राकृतिक चिकित्सा हैं उन सब में भी हम किसी भी औषधि का इस्तेमाल नहीं करते हैं. एंड द मर्मा थेरेपी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वन. एज वी नो दैट द ह्यूमन बॉडी having the 107 marma points, and they are the seat of energy, and if they are injured, a lot of complications may be there or person may die. लेकिन उनको यदि हम उपचारित करते हैं तो ऐसे हजारों लाखों बीमारियों को, मैं समझता हूं कि जितने भी सिम्टम्स हैं, चाहे वो बीमारियां कम्युनिकेबल हैं, चाहे नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीज हैं, चाहे लाइफ स्टाइल डिसऑर्डर से होने वाली बीमारियां हैं, विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस काइंड ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट जस्ट वी कैन ट्रीट easily and without any extra efforts, किसी भी बिना प्रयास के, बिना किसी अतिरिक्त संसाधनों के लिए. and if we have to give health for all, यदि हमें सबके लिए स्वास्थ्य की संकल्पना को सिद्ध करना है तो मर्म चिकित्सा, योग और ऐसी जो नॉन फार्माकोपियल वे ऑफ हीलिंग है इनका आश्रय लेना पड़ेगा. और एडवांसेस जो हमारे हर्बल मेडिसिन में होते हैं, जस्ट वी हैव टू रिसर्च एंड द डेवलपमेंट में व्हाट वी आर डूइंग, especially just we have to go for the proper documentation. It is very necessary and it is the need of the hour. जब भी हम किसी चीज को रखते हैं, किसी चीज को बताते हैं, तो उसको just we have to come with the proper documentation, scientific validation, products and product development, quality control, mode of, just we have to know the mode of action, कैसे हम काम करते हैं, कैसे ये चीज काम करती है. तो हम लोग जब भी करते थे, योग की बात करते थे, आसनों की बात करते थे, तो just we don't have the any explanation कि how it is working, कि किसी भी आसन को करने से कैसे हमारा सिस्टम ठीक होता. But when we have incorporated, we come across the knowledge of the marma, then we can able to say that each and whenever we are doing any asana or the pranayam, ultimately just we are stimulating some specific points of the body which are known as the marma. तो मोड ऑफ एक्शन भी हम लोगों को पता होना चाहिए कि कोई भी योगासन कर रहे हैं तो कैसे मोड ऑफ एक्शन होता है. ये सारा का सारा काम हमारे पतंजलि विश्वविद्यालय में बहुत अच्छे ढंग से हमारी लैब के माध्यम से, हमारे पूरे संस्थान के, यहाँ के संस्थान के माध्यम से हो रहा है. एंड जस्ट वी कैन से दैट मल्टीफोल्ड कैलकुलेटेड स्टिमुलस फ्रॉम पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टम टू सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम, ये इक्वेशन हमारी मर्म चिकित्सा की होती है कि व्हेनेवर वी आर स्टिमुलेटिंग द मर्मा पॉइंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड ऑल ओवर द बॉडी, तो हम क्या करते हैं, जो पेरिफेरी के जितने भी हमारे सिस्टम है, जो नर्वस सिस्टम है, उसको जस्ट वी आर गिविंग मल्टीफोल्ड कैलकुलेटेड स्टिमुलस दे रहे हैं. एंड इट इज गोइंग इनटू द ब्रेन, जो सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम के माध्यम से ब्रेन में जाता है और मल्टीफोल्ड रिस्पॉन्स भी इसका आता है. तो देन वी कैन से the actual mode of action. And just we have to focus on the cultivation of the drugs. आज जड़ी बूटियों की बहुत सारी कमी हो रही है, तो उसके लिए हमें देखना है कि किन परिस्थितियों में और कैसी प्राकृतिक परिस्थितियों में हम लोगों को जड़ी बूटियों का उत्पादन करना. इट इज़ वेरी नेसेसरी एंड इट शुड बी ए सस्टेनेबल हार्वेस्टिंग जो होनी चाहिए. एंड फिर IPR जो प्रोटेक्शन है ये होना चाहिए. अब पूरे जो आज के कायदे कानून हैं उनको हम लोगों को जानना चाहिए. What is the need of the requirement of the herbal sector? the scale up cultivation of economically important Ayurvedic medicinal plant to increase the income of the farmer. जब तक हम अपने किसानों को, एक सामान्य जन को इन जड़ी बूटियों से नहीं जोड़ेंगे तब तक इसके उत्पादन की संभावना मैं नहीं समझता कि कहीं हो सकती है। जब उसको ये पता लगेगा कि इससे इसकी आर्थिकी मजबूत हो सकती है और ये हमारी जड़ी बूटियों के लिए भी आवश्यक है, then he will be very much interested to cultivate the medicines. So just you can say the availability of the quality seeds, fertilizers, gardening tools to the farmers, ये बहुत ज़रूरी है और इसमें बहुत सारी सरकारी एजेंसीज भी काम कर रही हैं. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ उत्तरांचल, different Uttarakhand and different agencies are working very in this way. Awareness for the quality, cost, identification, harvesting time and the market of the Ayurvedic herbs. ये बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं, बहुत ज़रूरी हैं कि जो हम लोग जाने, इससे हम लोगों को जोड़ना है. पंचकर्म के विषय में आप सभी लोग जानते हैं कि कैसे पंचकर्म इम्पोर्टेंट है. इसको हम शोधन की प्रक्रिया कहते हैं. एंड इट इज़ वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट कि यदि हम बिना बीमारी के भी पंचकर्म का इस्तेमाल करते हैं तो अपने को स्वस्थ रख सकते हैं. तो इसलिए ये पंचकर्म भी अपने में बहुत ज़रूरी है. योग के लिए भी कहा कि योग whenever we are doing any posture, जो हम यौगिक पोस्चर करते हैं, जैसे कि हम लोग बार बार कहते हैं कि we are sitting in the Padmasana, ultimately just we are stimulating the Vitap nerve in the situated in the inguinal region. तो inguinal region पर जो एडी का प्रेशर होता है उससे हमारी जो जितना भी जेनाइटो यूरिनरी सिस्टम होता है वो अफेक्टेड होता है. तो in the same way just we are treating a lot of cases with the stimulation of this Vitap nerve directly by putting pressure with the help of the thumb over this particular point known as the Vitap nerve. तो ये सारी की सारी चीजें देखते हैं कि हम लोग क्या करते हैं. And whenever we are doing the forceful inspiration and the expiration, जब भी हम तीव्र गति से प्राणायाम करते हैं तो ये लिखा है कि हमारे जो नाक के ऊपर के भाग में एक श्रृंगाटक मर्म होता है जो 4 की संख्या में होता है और हमारी जितनी भी इंद्रियां हैं, चारों इंद्रियां हैं, त्वचा को छोड़कर उन सबकी कार्य क्षमता को प्रभावित करता है, उनको ठीक करता है. तो ऐसी स्थिति में कि whenever we are doing any kind of the pranayam, ultimately the श्रृंगाटक मर्म is going to be stimulated. So we can say there is a close relationship of the yoga, pranayam and the marma science, and with the help of both with the help of these two sciences just we can cope up with the situation which we have today we have in the field of the medical science. जो आज की स्थिति है उससे हम कैसे निपट सकते हैं, तो उसके लिए जितनी भी हमारी वैदिक साइंसेज हैं उन सभी को साथ होकर काम करना पड़ेगा. then it is very easy to say that just we can get the disease free society. Thank you very much.
Respected sir, I request you to be on stage to address the questions, please. I invite questions from the audience now.
Ji, if there is any question.
Yes, thank you sir for presenting an elaborative view of advances in herbal medicine which you presented. One thing which you presented which was which picked up the attention is drugless therapies. And there you discussed about marma therapy. So can you tell us or can you let us know like what are the therapeutic implications of marma therapy?
Just we can say the marma therapy is the oldest way of the healing in the world. जब भी हम लोग बात करते हैं आयुर्वेद की बात करते हैं तो जो हमको बताया गया है कि 5 से 10 हज़ार साल पुरानी चिकित्सा पद्धति है, जबकि ये हमारा कहना नहीं है. हम लोग कहते हैं कि जब से इस दुनिया में मनुष्य का आगमन हुआ है, मनुष्य की उत्पत्ति हुई है, मनुष्य का विकास हुआ है, तब से कोई ना कोई चिकित्सा पद्धति है और वो आयुर्वेद का विज्ञान है, योग है और ये सारी चिकित्सा पद्धतियाँ. बट बिफोर दैट जब भी हम आयुर्वेद की बात करते हैं, दवाइयों की बात करते हैं, दवाइयों से पहले बिना दवाई की बात करते हैं, the whole system, चाहे आयुर्वेद की बात करें, योग की बात करें, the all medical sciences are developed by some rishis or the scientists. सभी की जो है किसी न किसी ऋषि के द्वारा की गई. लेकिन जब हम मर्म चिकित्सा की बात करते हैं तो ये मनुष्य का शरीर किसी के व्यक्ति के द्वारा नहीं बनाया गया. It is made up by the nature or the God. तो ये जो 107 मर्म बिंदुओं का सिस्टम है ये हमारा इनबिल्ट है. ईच एंड एवरी person of the whole globe having the same number of the marma points in the human body. तो मनुष्य के शरीर में 107 मर्म स्थान होते ही होते हैं, चाहे वो अमेरिका का हो, चाहे इंडिया का हो, चाहे चाइना का हो, चाहे किसी भी देश का व्यक्ति हो, तो 107 मर्म स्थान होते हैं। तो 107 मर्म स्थानों के माध्यम से जो चिकित्सा की जाती है उनको हम लोग मर्म चिकित्सा कहते हैं। मर्म चिकित्सा के विषय में हमारे सारे आयुर्वेद को लोग जानते हैं कि देयर इज नो प्रॉपर डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ मर्म चिकित्सा इन आयुर्वेदिक टेक्स्ट, बट व्हेन वी हैव लर्न द कंसेप्ट ऑफ मर्मा इन द सुश्रुत संहिता, जस्ट वी हैव नो we was very much aware of the fatal effect of these marma points. तो हमको जब भी पढ़ाया गया कि whenever there is any injury to these marma places, a lot of complications may be there or person may die. ये कहा कि मार्यन्तीति मर्माणी, जब व्यक्ति के किसी इन मर्मों पर चोट लगती है तो व्यक्ति की मृत्यु हो जाती है। जैसे आपने देखा होगा कि जीसस क्राइस्ट के चारों हाथों पैरों पर नेलिंग कर दी गई, क्रूसिफिकेशन वाज डन ऑफ जीसस क्राइस्ट, और उनका डिमाइस हुआ बिकॉज देयर इज ए पॉइंट नोन एज द तल हृदय। तो हाथ पैर के तल हृदय पर जहां पर वो बिंदु होता है उस पर कील ठोकने से व्यक्ति की मृत्यु हो जाती है। तो ये बहुत नेचुरल है। इन सेम वे जस्ट यू कैन सी द डिमाइस ऑफ द लॉर्ड कृष्णा, भगवान श्री कृष्ण के पैर में भी उस जगह पे चोट लगती है भी जहां पर तल हृदय मर्म होता है। तो आप समझ सकते हैं कितने महत्वपूर्ण होते हैं, और इनके सहायता से जो उपचार किया जाता है तो उसको हम लोग मर्म चिकित्सा कहते हैं। हम लोगों को पता चला कि यदि हम ये कहें कि भाई यदि इस माइक का ये बटन खराब हो जाता है तो इसमें आवाज आनी बंद हो जाएगी, तो इसको ठीक होने पर इसकी आवाज आनी भी चाहिए। यदि किसी माइक की आवाज खराब है तो इस पॉइंट से इसको ठीक भी होना चाहिए। रिट्रोग्रेड स्टडी एंड जस्ट वी हैव डन द सेम प्रोसेस इन द रिसर्च वर्क। हम लोगों ने क्या किया, महर्षि सुश्रुत ने जो लिखा था कि इस स्थान पर चोट लगने से यह होगा, जैसे लिखा है कि क्रिकाटिका मर्म, इट इज द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट लोकेटेड बिटवीन द हेड एंड द नेक, जंक्शन ऑफ द हेड एंड द नेक। और उन्होंने लिखा है कि व्हेनेवर देयर इज इंजरी टू दिस क्रिकाटिका मर्म, there will be chal murdha, means there will be disbalancing or regular movement of the head will be there, सिर हिलता रहेगा। तो हम लोगों ने देखा कि whenever a patient comes to us with the complaint of the moving head, और गर्दन हिलने की तकलीफ से आता है, सिर हिलने की तकलीफ से आता है, तो हम लोगों ने उस मर्म को दबाना शुरू किया and we have seen that a very good improvement is there। तो हम लोगों ने सब केसेस में रिट्रोग्रेड स्टडी किया and we find the proper साइंस, एक पूरा का पूरा विज्ञान उद्घाटित हो गया। और आज पूरे विश्व में, पूरे भारत सरकार के द्वारा और देश के 12 विश्वविद्यालयों के द्वारा हम लोग इसके पाठ्यक्रम को पूरे देश में और विश्व में पढ़ा रहे हैं। तो ये पूरे एक विज्ञान के रूप में प्रतिस्थापित हो गया, और एक ये इट इज द ब्रिज बिटवीन द योगा एंड द आयुर्वेद। जब हम लोग पढ़ते थे तब आयुर्वेद का हिस्सा नहीं हुआ करता था योग, योग साइंस को अलग माना जाता था, लेकिन आज आयुर्वेद का और एक आयुष सिस्टम का हिस्सा योग और आयुर्वेद दोनों है। और ये एक बेसिक साइंस भी है और उसकी एक एलाइड साइंस भी है योग। लेकिन जब मर्म का हम लोग समझ पाए तो हमें लगा कि ये इट इज मर्मा साइंस एंड द योगा आर द टू साइड्स ऑफ ए कॉइन। एक सिक्के के एक तरफ मर्म लिखा हुआ, एक तरफ योग लिखा हुआ। तो कितनी क्लोज रिलेशनशिप मर्म और योग की है। और जब हम लोगों ने काम करना शुरू किया, जस्ट वी हैव नॉट वर्कड विद द मेडिकल स्टूडेंट और द आयुर्वेदिक पीपल, क्योंकि हम लोगों ने कहा कि जब भी हम मर्म चिकित्सा से संबंधित कोई बात करेंगे तो वो लोग सिर्फ यही कहेंगे कि भाई मर्म के छूने से तो व्यक्ति की मृत्यु होती है और आप इसके माध्यम से चिकित्सा कर रहे हैं। तो देन वी हैव स्टार्टेड वर्किंग विद द स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ द yoga and we got the tremendous response with this marma therapy and combination of the marma therapy and the yoga। तो मर्म चिकित्सा के माध्यम से कैसे चीज ठीक हो सकती है, ये अपने उन बिंदुओं के माध्यम से हम बहुत सारी बीमारियों को ठीक कर सकते हैं।
Thank you sir for that।
Professor Joshi, is like acupressure, acupuncture of Chinese medicine? Because they also describe certain points, you know, and if you stimulate those points either by pressure or called acupressure or reflex therapy or by some needles called acupuncture, they also have some beneficial or harmful physiological effects for body. So is it very similar to that?
Just we can say that the whole Oriental medical science, or in Oriental medical science, acupressure, acupuncture, anma, moxibustion, सैस्तु एंड कैम्फो, बहुत सारी मेडिकल साइंसेज हैं जो ओरिएंटल मेडिकल साइंस के रूप में पूरे वर्ल्ड में है, और स्पेशली साउथ ईस्ट एशिया, चाइना, जापान, इस सब में प्रचलित हैं। और जस्ट हम लोग ये कहते हैं कि व्हेनेवर द बुद्धिज्म और उससे पहले शैविज्म की बात करते हैं, वैष्णविज्म की बात करते हैं। ये धर्म जब हमारे पूरे देश, पूरे विश्व में प्रचारित हुए, तो इनके साथ हमारा ये मर्म चिकित्सा का ज्ञान भी विभिन्न देशों में गया और अपने देशों के परिस्थितियों के और उनकी जो स्तर है, उसकी मेडिकल साइंस का स्तर, उसके अनुरूप उन्होंने नई नई विधाओं के रूप में जन्म लिया। लेकिन जब हम मूल रूप से बात करते हैं तो जस्ट वी कैन से दैट इट इज द डायरेक्ट, इट इज द मोस्ट टारगेटेड पॉइंट रिटन इन द सुश्रुत संहिता। महर्षि सुश्रुत ने लिखे कि शरीर में 107 मर्म बिंदु होते हैं। ये कहाँ पे होते हैं निश्चित रूप है, लेकिन इन all other oriental medical sciences there is a lot of difference between the different schools. आप देखेंगे यदि चाइनीज स्कूल की बात करेंगे, मंगोलियन स्कूल की बात करेंगे, जापानीज की बात करेंगे, साउथ कोरिया में बात करेंगे, there is a lot of difference between the meridians and all these points, and they are using different kind of techniques. विभिन्न प्रकार की टेक्निक्स को यूज कर रहे हैं, and they don't have the instant response. देखिए हम लोग जब भी कहते हैं कि एक्यूप्रेशर, एक्यूपंक्चर में कितना समय लगता है, तो वो बताते हैं कि स्टिमुलेशन ऑफ these points needs some time. किसी में 30 मिनट लगते हैं, 25 मिनट लगते हैं, 40 मिनट लगते हैं. But in this condition, in marma therapy, just we are giving the stimulus only for the 0.8 second stimulus. 0.8 सेकंड का एक स्टिमुलस देते हैं और 15 से 18 स्टिमुलस देते हैं, दिन भर में 3 बार देते हैं, और जो प्रेशर है वो अफोर्डेबल देते हैं. जस्ट वी आर नॉट यूजिंग एनी आर्टिफिशियल आर्टिकल टू प्रेस दिस मर्मो पॉइंट्स, और वी आर नॉट यूजिंग एनी निडल और एनी अदर इन्वेजिव वे टू स्टिमुलेट दिस मर्मो पॉइंट. एक दूसरा उदाहरण और देना चाहूँगा. हम लोग उत्तराखंड में रहते हैं. उत्तराखंड में एक सुदूर, यदि पिथौरागढ़ की बात करूँ तो वहाँ हमारी पुलिस नहीं होती और एक ये पटवारी की वो होती है, प्रशासनिक परंपरा होती है. यदि हमें एक एप्लीकेशन माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी तक पहुँचानी है, तो यदि मुझे वहाँ धारचूला में देनी है, तो मैं सीधे प्रधानमंत्री जी तक नहीं पहुंचा सकता. मैं किसे पहुंचाऊंगा? सीधे मैं पटवारी को एप्लीकेशन दूंगा. पटवारी किसको देगा? तहसीलदार को देगा. तहसीलदार एसडीएम को देगा. एसडीएम डीएम को देगा. डीएम आगे देंगे. देन इट विल गो इनटू द पीएमओ. इफ वी हैव टू गिव डायरेक्टली, जस्ट वी आर गोइंग टू रिसीव द एप्लीकेशन टू द पीएमओ. सीधे पीएमओ में रिसीव कराएंगे तो ये अगले दिन प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब के सामने होगी. इन सेम वे व्हेनेवर वी आर स्टिमुलेटिंग दीज मर्मो पॉइंट, दीज आर द टारगेटेड पॉइंट. और इसको हम लोगों ने साइंटिफिकली एक तरह से उसका मेजरमेंट किया. एक पॉइंट पे बताना चाहूंगा. जस्ट व्हेन वी आर होल्डिंग आवर हैंड इन लाइक दिस, यदि हम मुट्ठी को ऐसे बंद करते हैं, करके देख सकते हैं, तो जहां बीच की उंगली लगती है वहां पर एक बिंदु होता है जिसको हम लोग तल हृदय कहते हैं. एंड a lot of medical students are there or practitioners are there. In case of the hypertension, whenever there is quite increase in the systolic and the diastolic pressure, तो तुरंत हमें क्या करना पड़ता है? सब लिंगुअल निफिटेपिन देनी है, या इंट्रावीनस काम्पोज या लेसिक्स का डायरेटिक का इंजेक्शन देना है. बट इफ वी आर नॉट गेटिंग दिस काइंड ऑफ मेडिकल असिस्टेंस इंस्टेंटली, तो ऐसी स्थिति में बहुत सारे कॉम्प्लिकेशंस हो सकते हैं. उसी समय यदि हम इस तल हृदय को, हाथ पैर के तल हृदय को 3-4 सिटिंग लगातार देते हैं, तो 30 का डिक्लाइन 2 और 3 मिनट में 30 डिक्लाइन इन द सिस्टोलिक एंड डायस्टोलिक टेक्स प्लेस. सैकड़ों हजारों केस की स्टडी हम लोगों की है. तो विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस काइंड ऑफ स्टिमुलेशन, जस्ट यू कैन इंस्टेंटली मैनेज विद द कॉम्प्लिकेशंस, यू कैन मैनेज विद द इमरजेंसी, यू कैन डील विद द इंस्टेंट पेन मैनेजमेंट. आप तुरंत पेन का भी रिस्पॉन्स कर सकते हो. यदि किसी को साइटिक पेन है, कहीं पे कोई सर्वाइकल स्पॉन्डिलोसिस हो रही है, कोई भी दर्द है, तो आप तुरंत स्टिमुलेशन देके विद इन 1 और 2 मिनट्स इसका रिस्पॉन्स दे सकते हैं. एंड इवन इट इज वेरी इफेक्टिव इन केस ऑफ द पोस्ट पोलियो पैरालिसिस, ऑस्टियोआर्थराइटिस, cerebral palsy, traumatic paraplegia, quadriplegia, monoplegia, and brain stroke. Even in case of the emergencies, bronchospasm, उसमें भी मर्म चिकित्सा के माध्यम से फायदा होता है. हम लोगों ने कोरोना के काल में लगभग सैकड़ों हजारों मरीजों को, जिनको पोस्ट कोविड कॉम्प्लिकेशन के तौर पे डिस्निया होता था, उनको हाथ के आणी और उर्वी मर्म दबाकर रिस्पांस किया है. इंस्टेंट, इट गिव्स द इंस्टेंट रिस्पांस इन दीज कंडीशंस. तो कुछ नहीं करना, हाथ के यहाँ से 4 अंगुल ऊपर और 4 अंगुल ऊपर, इसको दबाइए 10-15-20 बार, इसको दबाइए 10-15-20 बार, इसको दबाइए, दोनों तरफ दबाइए, और आपको लगेगा कि तुरंत सांस एकदम तुरंत आ गई. तो ऐसी स्थिति में आप समझ सकते हैं कि मर्म चिकित्सा कितनी कारगर हो सकती है, कितनी तेज हो सकती है. और यही अंतर है एक्यूप्रेशर, एक्यूपंक्चर, अनमा, मॉक्सीबस्टन, इनके रिजल्ट्स में भी, इनके प्रोसीजर्स में भी, इनकी उत्पत्ति में भी. दीज आर द 2 क्वाइट डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ जो एक थेरेपीज है. और मैं समझता हूँ कि इनका मूल निश्चित रूप से मर्म चिकित्सा और ये हमारी वैदिक चिकित्सा विधाएं और आयुर्वेद ही. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We can always have the next set of questions later on, as we have our next eminent speaker, Professor Sitesh C. Bacharji, already joined us online through remotely through video conferencing. Professor Bacharji was supposed to be here with us today, but due to unavoidable circumstances, his flight got rescheduled. We appreciate as a source of export potentiality. We give you a heartily welcome, sir.
चार्जिंग वाला पॉइंट होता है वहाँ म्यूट दिख रहा है कहीं बोल रहा वहाँ देखा ना जहाँ चार्जिंग वाला दिखाओ कनेक्टेड वाला अरे हो
This is Shitesh from Dhaka. Hello. This is Shitesh from Dhaka. Are you audible? Are you audible? Am I audible? Yes. Oh, so it's my turn now.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So please let me share my slides. Let me, because I'm not. Oh yes, now it's okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir.
Can I proceed now?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
So, very good afternoon to all of you. I'm very happy to be here today at this special conference, Plants to Patients History, Rethinking Ethnopharmacology, organized by Patanjali Research Institute, University of Patanjali, Haridwar. And I'm very, because I have an opportunity to be there physically, but due to my administrative and academic reasons at the University of Dhaka, I was not able to make it physically to attend this auspicious congress or a seminar organized by the university. So next time, definitely I will be able to there, this holy place, Haridwar. And now I would like to share my views on the Bangladeshi medicinal plants as a source of export potentiality. You know, Bangladesh has same eco-diversity as the eastern and northeastern India. So the way India is promoting his traditional medicines to the abroad, Bangladesh is unable to address these issues. Why? What is the problems? And in that respect, what is the potentiality of exporting some of Bangladeshi traditional herbal medicines? I would like to find it way to getting a small seeding fund from the Ministry of Commerce. And we all know about these traditional medicines use and what percentage you are using and how the rate of this using of the traditional medicine for home and abroad. Most of the things is the America, Europe, and other developed studies. The increasing of the traditional medicines is getting day by day is very much increased. This scenario of the global Ayurvedic herbal markets of opportunities and forecast from 2021 to 2028, the global Ayurvedic herbs markets is expected traditional Chinese medicines. So mostly the world market is dominated by these two traditional medicines, is Chinese and India, and rest of the other is very few. And the growth, this compounded annual growth rate is about 10.8%, which is very much unbelievable in kinds of things. So tremendous growth of these Ayurvedic medicines is going on due to the supporting of the Ministry of Ayush. In this small study for exploring the opportunity of the traditional medicines in Bangladesh, to present the overall scenario of the herbal products and medicinal plants in Bangladesh, to identify the major challenges for the domestic supply and export of medicinal plants and herbal products, as well to identify the need-based training and workshop to enhance the productivity as well as the export potentiality of this sector. This is the most of the majority of the herbal products in different ailments. I'm not skipping these things. At present, a number of Unani manufacturers is 285, Ayurveda is 204, herbal is 38, and homeopathic and other things as a part of traditional medicinal systems in Bangladesh 71. And the number of Unani product is 7,438, Ayurveda is 4,551, herbal products 611, and homeopathy is 2,391 products is marketed by the approval of the drug administrations under the Ministry of Health. Government has taken an initiative of promoting of these things as a part of the Medicinal Plants and Herbal Products Business Promotion Council under the Ministry of Commerce is working as a private-public partnership to export diversifications and overall business development. And this is here, India and other countries, most of the herbals is being imported because most of the raw materials, as that about modern medicines, most of the raw materials are collecting from the out of the country. And I will let you know the data shown from the study. So India and other parts, through the importers, with some processors coming to the consumers, as well as from the growers points and some pickers and collectors, with some processor through a bakery and other wholesalers coming to the consumers through the retailer or some prescribers like Kobiras and Hakims. So in this study proposal, considering the enormous possibility in the promotion of exports of such traditional medicines in various ways, the study was designed to focus on the constraints faced by the producer, stakeholders, as well as the exporters. And as a piece of the detailed information regarding the source of medicinal plant raw materials, its exact yearly consumptions, manufacturer-wise, the exact figure of exportations of the herbs and finished products needed to be taken. And that's why the primary and secondary data were collected to complete the study on the consumptions of the plants and herbal raw materials in traditional manufacture, that is Unani, Ayurveda, herbal and homeopathy. And the field survey was conducted, gathering information through the direct interview, telephonic discussions, email using, and a structured questionnaire, designing of the proposals. And the stakeholders of this case was medicinal plant collector, farmers, producers, processors, manufacturers, importers, exporters, and wholesalers. Here, we are sharing the information regarding only the manufacturers and wholesalers as well. So this is the questionnaire we developed for the wholesaler as well as for the manufacturer. And this is data sheets containing about 155 items at the right-hand side about the uses and consumption rates yearly and monthly. In the study, it was found that the total of 150 manufacturers companies have been participated in the study. And from the study, herbal was 26%, Ayurveda was 13%, Unani was 16%, and homeopathy was, herbal was 8%, Ayurveda was 24%, Unani was 40%, and homeopathy was 28%, so 6%. And the product are manufactured, most of the manufacturer, at least 75% are producing finished products. Only with these local raw materials, some of the manufacturers, they are producing the raw materials themselves. So their percentage is very few, only 4%. And some of the products are producing semi-processed for their in the manufacturing units. A number of methods used by the companies, because about 30 companies, they are using most of the 28 to 33% of the number of companies in terms of the percentage, and only 3-4 companies, percentage 3.4, is using more than 150 items for the preparations of the respective herbal products. Regarding this matter, the export potential status of these raw materials is only 1.7% they are exporting, and 98.3% they are not exporting any herbal products. And finished products only they are exporting 3.7%, and 96% they are not saying they are not sending any kinds of finished products, and the same products they are not doing anything. So the annual total raw materials collections by the individual companies, you see about 75 companies, they are using more than 5,000 kg per year, whereas only 3 companies using more than 30,000 kgs. And the annual total collected raw materials from the individual companies is only about 60 companies are about 5 kg, and about 8 companies are using more than 40,000 kgs. So this study is almost similar to the study conducted during 2003 by SEDF and Swiss intercorporations, and the scenario of the consumptions of the raw materials is almost similar to our present studies. Here we observe that among those 155 herbs, most of the used raw materials is bashok, then amloki, then others. And this study is evidenced by the previous study of these other teams of the other universities conducted by Salahuddin Palash, this medicinal plant business in Bangladesh, exploring the performance of this supply chain across, where this bashok, ashwagandha, and tulsi have the similar status. This says the study is almost similar to our study. So that is a possibilities. The Bangladeshi medicinal plants has a promotions to foreign countries. If this district-wise plant raw materials of the collection of these things, this Moliwala district as a wholesale market, most of these materials are available here. Then Dhaka districts, then Natur and other districts as well for the collections of the raw materials. Then for the district division-wise, as seen in the pictorial pictures, and the challenges faced by the stakeholders, especially the Unani, Ayurveda, and homeopathy manufacturers for the productions of the locally grown herbs is this high cost of the raw materials, high rate of the taxes, insufficient bank loan, insufficient government facilities and regulations, lack of regulatory facilities for maintaining the quality assurance and quality control, and other things as per responses of the manufacturer. And most of the companies, they are asking support from the drug administrations, the regulatory bodies, and they responded, government facilities and support. And some 32% responded to medicinal plant board formations as that of India, so that they can control everything for the quality herbs productions in the countries. And only 7% is taking about the technological support for the development of the traditional medicines in Bangladesh. As they also ask for the laboratory facilities from the government, proper regulations of the facilities, export of the locally grown herbs, and support in technology-based innovations. And most of the companies, 100%, they're asking financial support from the government. In the wholesale part, about 15 companies responded here, and the raw materials, most of the things is about 80% are from imported. Only purified fractions, only 1%, 6.7%, same process 6.7%, and others are 6.7%. And the import status of the respondent of the wholesaler are here. It is reflected as only 6.7% are not imported. That means 6.7% raw materials are collected from the Bangladesh, and that scenario is also reflected by the study as I said before. So 93.3% of the active raw herbs are being imported from the neighboring countries, where India is the main stakeholders for these things. No finished product is imported, but there have some studies. The study says that, but other studies, there is some possibilities of sending such kinds of herbal products. I'm letting you know later slides. So wholesalers respond to the regulatory affairs because have their regulatory growers. Most of them need support from the government, and they are not keeping their records and harvesting records. There is some regulatory matters, how to preserve, how to maintain the records, how to time of recording of the harvesting things. There is some questionnaires there. Somebodies are maintaining, somebodies are not doing these things. So in that respect, most of the raw materials are being imported from China. India is the highest, 21.8%, and China is 21%. Vietnam, Pakistan, Myanmar, the neighboring countries, most of these 93% raw materials are being imported from the neighboring countries for the supplying of our national requirement. The locally collections of the 6.7% are mostly from Dhaka, Bandarban, Chittagong, Sylhet, Mymensingh, Mouloivaja, Nayanganj, Natur and Bogora districts. And the challenges they are facing here is insufficient guidelines for collections and productions of the raw materials, insufficient training of the personnel, those who are involved for the collections and productions of the raw materials, lack of medicinal plant garden or plants, inadequate customs management regulations, lack of quality controls of the raw materials. So many things are creating a problems, not being able to export or increase the export status of the traditional medicines to the out of Bangladesh, because of the things the Minister of Ayush is helping to its government. The another important things is these expected opportunities may be received from the government is the proper guidelines. They are asking this manufacturer or wholesaler, they're asking for proper guidelines, training of the manpower, plantations of the medicinal plants, adequate regulations, monitoring, and financial support for regarding all these things. So these studies also supported by our previously shared journal in Journal of that is Frontiers in Pharmacology. So that's Calomeg. They are using by this local manufacturer, Square Pharmaceuticals, ECMI. Tulsi is manufactured by Square and ECMI. Pashok, Square ECMI. Garlic, Square Renata. Sirota, Drug International. Aloe Vera, Drug International. These are the local manufacturers. Mostly they are modern manufacturers, because the traditional manufacturers, mostly they are contributing for a long period of time. Then when it is taken up by our modern manufacturers with the wing of the traditional manufacturer, then the product is started to export to the other countries with quality medicines. And this is this Frontiers Pharmacology of the review of these things, which is almost similar to that of the products, which is being locally grown and have them possibilities to export as it is manufactured by the quality manufacturers of the traditional medicine in Bangladesh. So here is the scenario of some of the companies. They are sending Canada, Europe, Hong Kong. Renata is sending Nepal, Sri Lanka. ECMI is sending Myanmar and Kenya. So there have some possibilities for exporting of these raw materials in Bangladesh. So in that respect, they are sending finished products. There is ample opportunities for sending these raw herbs to Bangladesh, and there is a good possibilities. Some are doing these things, but no data are available to the government. So these are Moringa, Kalomeg, Ghृतकुमारी, Bashok, Neem, Tulsi, and Ashwagandha. So there is ample opportunities, but we should have to need the support of the government and also for the neighboring countries. Finally, to facilitate the availability of raw materials and finished products under pharmacopoeial standards to improve the quality of the drugs for domestic consumption and export as well. and improving the market-oriented local productions. That is, I said 6.7% parameters that we need to be targeted to increase the productions with a standardized way as per this government and local government and other bodies for increasing of the and district-wise where it is more grown depending on the type of the soils and other respective areas, and increase local production of the tulsi, ashwagandha, bashok, ritukumari, amloki, and kalomeg with local knowledge as well as scientific validations and evidence related to the safety and efficacy of the export promotions. And to export and needs close collaborations with the Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as Ministry of Health and Family Welfare for the promotions of the traditional medicine in foreign countries. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my experience or views about these possibilities of exportations of traditional medicines from Bangladesh. In my team, there was Professor Firoz Ahmed, Dr. Uttam Kumar, Dr. Dilshad Nimluida, Dr. Rahan Sarkar, Mr. Manjurul Al Hassan, B.K. Sajid, and Yasif Kaz in my research team. And this was funded by the Medicinal Plant and Herbal Food Medicine Promotion Council, Ministry of Commerce, and supported by Bangladesh Unani Oshud Shilpa Samiti, Bangladesh. Thank you very much to all of you for giving me the opportunity to share my views and ideas in front of this auspicious gathering like Patanjali University. I am able to see lots of friends and families, and just after the previous talk, I was able to see my old friend is Kovas is there, so he is able to attend physically. So due to my constraint, I am not able to attend the program physically. And for next time, definitely I will attend such kinds of auspicious gathering and share my views and ideas. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time to make this conference, to join this conference virtually. Due to time constraint, we will hear our next eminent speaker, Dr. Rajesh Mishraji's talk after lunch. We quickly move on to the memento distribution ceremony to acknowledge distinguished speakers of now. अब मैं परम श्रद्धेय श्री आचार्य जी महाराज से सादर निवेदन करती हूँ कि वे इस मंच पर पधारें और अब तक के स्पीकर्स को मोमेंटो प्रदान कर उनको सम्मानित। May I also request Professor Sunil Kumar Joshi ji to please come over to the dais for the memento.
Is there any questions? I think I can share you, or you can, if it's sufficient. Kobas is there.
Thank you very much, everyone. Param Shraddhay Shri Acharya Ji Maharaj, aapka bahut bahut dhanyavad. It's time for the lunch break now. I request the chaperones to usher their guests to the food lounge. Respected professors, teachers, and faculty members are requested to proceed for lunch in the boys' cafeteria, ground floor. All female students